Welcome back to the Name Redacted Podcast, America's most beloved podcast, the most downloaded Red Sox podcast in the world. I'm in Fort Myers, Florida right now, which is, Tyler, where the
Florida
Red Sox play. You fucking idiot. You had one job, dude.
That was a tough
question.
question.
Had one. Jake, that was crazy. Am I right?
It was so obvious.
You didn't lead me down
That was
the road
crazy.
or anything.
I said, I'm in Fort Myers, Florida, where the...
Oh,
and
the
you
Red
said
Sox play.
Florida.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
I thought you were asking like where.
No.
Where it's located.
No, we get it. You're a fucking idiot. We get it. Tyler put together a list of topics before the show, and I was looking at them over dinner, and I was scanning the topics. I see pitch clock, Monaco, Merloni, Duran, hot start, Kluber, Masataka Yoshida, Valdez, Arroyo, Tomasi. We have that clip ready to go. Garrett Whitlock might not be ready for opening day. Baseball America prospects. Sale. See some Cora stuff with Casas. Kiké responding to Duke. Matt Barnes. Some headlines. Heim Bloom. Kiké taking some shots at JD. Connor Wong's hurt. And that's the end of the list. Nowhere, Jake, in Tyler's Topics, which is our new favorite segment. It's called Tyler's Topics. Nowhere in there does it say, hey, we should Jared's in spring training. He's there. He's in spring training. Maybe we should talk about the things that happen at spring training. Well, the guy that's on the podcast is at spring training. Do you want to defend yourself, Tyler? Do you want to talk about Tyler's Topics here?
This is actually pretty embarrassing for you. And Jake, I know you're probably agreeing and thinking what I'm thinking right now. This is really embarrassing. Now, if you look on the list, right, if you look at the second line and you actually read all the way through, I even just the way you read down the list there, you weren't reading through the items fully. It says we finally have games and the pitch clock. Plus, Jared has been down at the fort.
Does it say we should talk about the experiences?
What do you think the list is for? Does it say we should talk about these other items, or is it a list of items?
Tyler. It says plus Jared has been down at the fort with an eyeball emoji.
Which emphasizes what I'm saying even more. Yeah, this is embarrassing for you. You know how you wanted to laugh at me at the start of this. Everyone's laughing at you right now. Everybody.
No one is laughing at me.
They can't even see Jake, but Jake's chuckling right now. He's dying laughing.
He's not. He's not.
Tough look for you.
Anyways, Tyler's Topics. Spin the wheel. What's topic number one, Tyler?
I want to hear about your trip down to the fort.
Nope, that's not number one.
How is that
what's
not
number one?
one?
What's the burning topic on your mind right now?
If we're going games, I think we have to start pitch
By the way,
clock.
Tyler is sick again. I don't know what it is with Tyler's immune system, but it is outrageous. Like, what do you put into your body? Do you take vitamins?
Never. I've never taken a vitamin in my life.
Let's start there. Do you drink water on a daily basis?
Right here. First
you go.
bottle of the day.
So you're drinking it because you're sick.
Yeah.
All right, let's start taking some vitamins and let's start drinking water on a regular basis. Let's start there. That's topic number one.
It's more of an environment thing. I think I'm just, I'm out there a lot. I'm talking to a lot of different people. I'm always, making moves.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What's topic number one?
Pitch clock.
Okay, let's start there. It is spring training. I get the season hasn't started and we're not doing 2 episodes a week yet. But the first spring training game with the Monaco Lou clip going viral, that seems like a month ago at this point. Like, I feel like I haven't yet adapted to this brand of baseball with the pitch clock yet. But that first game feels like a fucking eternity ago. Like, Lou's not even here anymore. Like, Lou left Fort Myers like days ago. But that clip went super viral. I saw people were complaining about it, and I was like, listen, you can make fun of the pitch clock, you can hate it, you can say it's ruining the game of baseball, but the fact of the matter is it was February and people are talking about the game of baseball. That's a win. I'll take it 10 times out of 10 if people are talking about baseball in the month of February. What were your first impressions from that first game? That first game, like very first impression.
I loved it. I honestly watched it, and as someone like you who watches so many games, especially coming off last September, like in the end of October when we were watching the Red Sox just try to get through the end of the season, I'm watching Connor Siebold go out there and get his ass absolutely kicked. Guys are taking forever on the mound. It's just, things were dragging. Watching that pace, I felt, alive. It just felt more electric than any spring training game I had watched. And maybe it was because it was that first game. Maybe it was because Monaco and Merloni are so good that they just had me hyped anyways. But just the pace. And it's not perfect. Like, you're going to have the violations or whatever. But people who are sitting there sobbing.
He's still going. Oh man, that was crazy, Jake. That was crazy.
I mean, he went for like 45 more seconds.
Yeah,
the hands are going. He's probably still going.
This is a tough start. I mean, while he's not here, I can admit that, yeah, he did have it on the rundown. I just missed it. It was just very poorly formatted.
He could have highlighted it a little better.
Yeah, he could have. He could have. Anyways, while Tyler's trying to get resituated here, what were your takes, Jake, from the first game with the pitch clock?
I mean, I really like it. I love how, the average duration, I guess, is going to go down to like 2.5 hours, but it just feels like not a whole different game, but it feels like you're watching at like 1.5 speed or something. It's just more engaging, and like, obviously I'm a fan of baseball. I want the game of baseball to grow, and I think it's just good for casual fans who might not want to watch it because it was too slow before.
Yeah, I mean, it's a quicker pace. I think most people have been saying you can't get up to get a beer, like you're going to come back and it's going to be 3 innings later, stuff like that. Those are all good things. As someone who sits there and watches baseball, 162 games in 30 teams on a nightly basis, a lot of times I am sitting there just like looking at Twitter. It's like I'm looking for a highlight, and now you can't look down because you're gonna miss the game. Like there's plenty. There was so much time in between action. I think Paxton was saying it was something like, average was like 4 minutes in between like balls being put in play. Like now you're gonna have more balls put in play. Tyler is making a very asserted effort to get back on the podcast. I don't know what's going on over there. I don't know what he's doing. Terrible internet, but it is what it is. The show goes on. But Monaco's call, which, because I'm in Fort Myers, I don't have my soundboard, but Monaco's call was a 10 out of 10 for basically a balk off, a clock off. It was a clock off in a game that obviously doesn't matter. It's spring training, but the energy and the passion that he brings to the broadcast is just fucking top notch. I'm such a Monaco guy. And I say that all the time. I mean, it's just, you have to bring that energy. Doesn't matter if it's spring training for broadcasters too. So yeah, it was a moment, but again, hey Tyler,
Fuck off.
Welcome back.
That was one of the weirdest things that's ever happened. I heard everything you guys said. I was here. I heard you admit you were wrong, so thank you.
You weren't here.
Also, so. Jake, you continuing to add fuel to his fire. Not okay, but I'll move forward. Would you guys like me to finish my point? Where did I get cut off?
Like the very beginning. You should just start over.
Yeah, so with the pitch clock, I thought it was amazing. Just watching it, in terms of after watching September baseball and watching Connor Siebold be slow as hell last year, get his ass beat. Those games were taking forever. It was 4 hours long consistently. Just watching the pace, did it feel maybe a little quick at times? Sure. I think you saw pitchers were a little nervous. They were throwing before the clock even was, close to zero. I thought Corey Kluber a couple days later took it a little slower. You saw them adjust to it and not feel as rushed, but this is the future of baseball. And anyone who wanted to complain, oh, the game ended in a tie because they were trying to figure out the rules. Who cares? Who cares how a spring training game ends? What?
Don't care.
Yeah, no, who cares? Games end in ties. The Red Sox have had 2 ties already this year. Just figure it out now so when we get to the season, we see what the product change is. We already saw it in minor league baseball last year. You shave 25 minutes off a game. Apparently pitching injuries, according to MLB, were down as is. We've seen the pluses of all of it. And I think anyone who's been watching the games, I can't tell you how many people who don't even like baseball that much have said, hey, this is kind of bringing me back in. People who shit on the sport constantly. All the 98.5 guys who baseball's boring, baseball's dead, all of them changing their tune and saying, all right, this is something I can buy into. For people like me and you who watch all these, Jim Murray came out and said it. I don't know if I heard Felger say it directly, but Murray was one of them. And Murray shits on baseball. Beadle is another one who complains a lot about baseball today. He said, this completely changes it for me. So when I hear people like that who are not always positive on this sport, even admitting it, perfect. Games are faster paced for us. We know what the action is. And there's a reason when we talk about baseball, it's the perfect Twitter sport. Yeah, because you go on your phone after every single pitch, you refresh one time, and then you look back up and you're good to go. I watched that Jose Altuve clip like about 8 times between him and Pedro Baez, just 7 times around the bases. That's the problem. And maybe that will be an issue when postseason comes and you want to let it breathe a little bit. But for right now in regular season baseball, give it all to me. It's electric.
I've seen a lot of tweets recently that we need to get Beadle back on the program. His last appearance, I think, was 2017. It was very funny because it was the Pete Abe episode, like after like my beef with Pete Abe, and we had already booked Beadle to be on that episode, so he just kind of had a front row seat to like a drama filled episode. So he deserves his own spotlight to come back on and just have not be injected into the middle of a conversation that had nothing to do with him. I want to have a full blown baseball conversation with Beadle because I know deep down he loves baseball. Like I've gone to, and I think it was 2015. I went to a game with Beadle and we went out for like drinks before and like we're talking about the Sox and like I know he cares. I think somewhere along the line he pivoted from that. He's not alone. I'm not saying it's like a Beadle thing. No. I think like a lot of people, once they just got to a certain point, or if you're, I mean, he's at heart, he's a football guy, obviously. But I think he had a love for baseball that kind of faded, and it would be great to see it come back.
100%. He'll tell you, like you get into 90 Sox with him, he'll go for days, right? But he's one of those people that have disconnected from the game. Just because of where it's at, he feels like it's too slow, whatever it may be. This is how you pull people in. And even if it's just getting some of those back, great. I think you're talking younger people, the TikTok generation, like my age and younger, who need kind of that constant stimulation to keep them going. This is it. Like when you're seeing pitchers just get back on the mound and throw and throw and throw, like watching today's game, which was like, 3.5 hours or whatever, dude, it felt slow. Like I'm sitting there, I'm like, I'm already feeling the change. And I used to sit here and watch a 3.5 hour game and I'd be like, all right, not a bad night. Like, this didn't go 4 hours. I'll take it. Now it's like 2.5 hours and it's in, out. You can consume more baseball. You can go watch another game. I don't even know what I'm going to do with all my free time, but I don't see the downside of it. I understand if you want to talk postseason, sure. Let's get there. Let's get there first.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think by the time we do get there, the players will be adjusted.
Yeah. I think the other thing too, along with the pitch clock, how they did the LED lights at Fenway, and the older crowd was like, they're ruining Fenway. It's Fenway Park. It's been around for 100 years. And it's like, yeah, okay, that's great. But like Fenway, like I remember when I had like that job interview at Fenway in 2014 and we had like the conversation about, like they asked me like about like Sweet Caroline. They were like, how do you feel about it? And I was like, I don't particularly love it. Like, I think it should be like Geno at the Celtics games, like play it when you're up big or when you're up and whatever. And like, there's something that really bothers me about Sweet Caroline and like the crowd singing when you're down by 8 going into the bottom of the 8th. And their response was, well, Fenway Park, if it's someone's first time there ever, they came there to sing Sweet Caroline. So we're going to let them sing Sweet Caroline. It's like, all right, well, why don't you give them some incentive to come back? Like, I went to Wrigley hoping to get to hear the crowd sing Go Cubs Go at the end of the game. Well, if they fucking lose, they're not going to sing it. So now I got to come back. Like, that's how that works. And I think with like the fucking Fenway Park organist who's a douchebag, like they want to keep that old timey feel with like the Fenway Park organ. But it's like you go to a Celtics game and it is just so hype. It's an event. The pregame ceremony, they got pyro, they got lights, they turn the stadium lights down. There's loud music bumping, all this and that. And at Fenway, it's like, it's like, all right, like at some point you have to kind of close the chapter on like, we're not going to please the older fans, or we don't care as much about pleasing the older fans. Like, we want to cater to the younger crowd. And the younger crowd wants faster, which they're now getting with the pitch clock. And they want the LED lights and it's more about, we have this conversation too, about what the players want. Like, say, for example, Kenley Jansen doesn't want the flashing lights and all that shit coming out of the bullpen. Well, guess what? You're not going to get it. But if he wants it, boom, you got it. Like, you want it to be an event. You want it to, and I think the Red Sox, for the most part, have done a great job of, like, that's Sarah McKenna's job over there. She is in charge of like getting the crowd going. Like, when you have someone like come perform before the game or whatever, like that's her job. Like during the World Series, 2007, let's get the Dropkick Murphys in here. Like, that's her. Like the pregame stuff, like get the crowd into it. And now you've got a faster paced game for the TikTok generation that has no attention span. You've got, hopefully, I'm not saying get rid of the organ. I mean, I hate the guy. The guy's a fucking asshole. But like, I like some of like the old timey stuff to it, but for like at least the nostalgia purposes. But you can't tell me that when you go to a game and they drop the lights and you've got like dramatic music and a sound system that's bumping and the video board's going, like that creates an environment that fucking that asshole playing the organ is just not going to be able to come close to doing. So
no,
it's about catering to the younger audience, and we're here. We're here.
Everything has to become modernized at some point. You adjust. Nothing stays the same. And like, I look at it last year, like Felix Bautista, Omar's whistle, when he would come out and those lights were going nuts. Like, they were going nuts at Camden Yards for like an average-ish baseball team. If you can get something like that going at Fenway Park, and obviously Kenley's spoken about how he feels about it, cool. That's Kenley. Other players, guys who grow into that, this is how you build things. This is how the game goes in a different direction. And some people are going to push back against it. Be that way. There were people 4 or 5 years ago that were crying their eyes out when players started bat flipping and showing emotion, that thought Bryce Harper was so disrespectful to the sport that they could not fathom watching baseball anymore. Look at how we view that now. There's not, 99.9% of baseball fans sit there and love all that shit. They cannot get enough of it. Those are the clips that go viral on Twitter. Those are the clips that still make SportsCenter and make that larger, national audience that baseball doesn't, or at least in the last 10 to 15 years, has lost. That's what gets their attention. This is how you climb back into that. And there's going to be bumps. There's going to be weird moments. You think that first spring training game is going to be the only time something weird happens this year?
No.
Hell no. But you go through the growing pains. That's part of it. But when Alex Cora, someone who is as old school, loves traditional baseball in so many ways, is saying, hey, I love it. I'm willing to figure it out as we go along here, but I see the difference. I want to keep rolling with it. What more do you need to know? Like, those are the guys telling you they're down for this. The people who are bitching, and it's a lot of people on Twitter who, you're not even big baseball fans in the first place. Like, you're just looking, like, you care about spring training baseball. You're telling me this person right here who never talks baseball, never gives a fuck. They just complain about everything baseball related. Now you're just finding the next thing. People who are watching these games on a night-to-night basis, for the large part, are all into it. You look at the surveys from fans at minor league ballparks last year, overwhelmingly into it. Overwhelmingly. What more do you need? And I give credit, Rob Manfred doesn't deserve a lot of love. He finally grew a set and did something here. And I will give him credit for that, because you got to give credit where it's due. And that's it. And there's players who push back. We knew the committee wasn't really into it. He told them too bad. I'm telling you, by mid this year, end of next year, there will be very, very few people that want to go back. And I think when we watch games, even from a year or two ago, in 5 years, we're going to be like, how the hell did I sit through that?
Like, yeah. Well, because the other thing too, they're not, to my knowledge, they're not using the pitch clock in the World Baseball Classic. So
no, they're not.
If you are watching these spring training games and then you watch the World Baseball Classic, you're going to see that you're going to be able to compare and contrast, and then you're going to be going right into regular season baseball. So you're going to get to see it. And I want to say the average game time of a World Baseball Classic game in the last tournament was north of 4 hours. Like, these were like long,
that's going to be a
drawn out.
tough pull.
Yeah. I mean, I think this World Baseball Classic is going to be the best one yet. But it is going to be, it's going to be something where you're watching spring training games, and then it's like, well, shit, now we have no pitch clock again. It'll be interesting. And it'll also be interesting when you have players that are in big league camp that are adjusting to the pitch clock at spring training, and now you're on a World Baseball Classic team, and then you're getting used to the way that it was before, and then you got to revert right back to using the pitch clock once opening day rolls around at the end of the month. So that's that. Tyler dropped out again.
No, I did not.
Oh,
hello?
You're still there? I mean, Jake, can you not see his picture?
Yeah, his picture is off, but he's still recording.
Okay. All right, Tyler. Where are we heading to next?
I don't understand it. I can see myself.
This is like, like me on Baseball is Dead like a couple weeks ago. I was like, my internet's fine. I can see myself. Like, everything's great. All right. I will I'll hit on some spring training things from down here. Man. A lot's gone down since I got down here. Like I said, went up in the booth with Monaco and Lou. Got to I was on the Nesson broadcast the other day with TC, which was a good time. TC getting chased by that cat the other day. I did a wine and paint night with Kiké last night, which will be a Nesson Like a Pro episode. Today I was a Red Sox clubby, which, by the way, I said it before I even did it. Like, I was like, hey, these guys super underappreciated for what they have to do on a daily basis. That wasn't something that I tweeted after doing the job. Like, I knew it was fucking tough. And then you go out there and you do it. And by the way, I did a full day of it. And like, it wasn't like, oh, let's get a shot of Jared cleaning one of the players' spikes for the show and then step back and like work TV magic. I did the job. Like, how much of it is getting used, I don't know, but I cleaned like fucking 50 players' cleats today. Like, it was something else. We did that. I did the pine tar for the players. I put the did what?
Did they treat you with respect, Jared, or were they just like, were you behind the scenes of this? Like, were you dealing with like, you know, they're seeing Jared Carrabis actually having to do a different style of work? You know, you're getting your hands dirty. Were they throwing it on you, or were you kind of just isolated and learning?
The clubbies or the players?
In general, players and clubbies.
The clubbies welcome me with open arms because I'm friends with some of them. Some of them I met for the first time. They're all awesome guys. But some of them I was meeting for the first time. the players the players thought it was very funny. They got a kick out of the fact that like I was up there setting up the pitching machine for Carlos Fabulous and Jason Varitek this morning. Got there at 6:30 in the morning, 5 a.m. wake up at JetBlue by 6:30, ready to go. Set up their pitching machines for them. We put out the game balls, which was interesting because I was putting the pine tar on the rag for Justin Turner's bat, and I got pine tar on my fingers, and then I had to put the game balls in the bucket that were being used in the game. I was like, it would be very funny if someone got in trouble for using sticky stuff and someone got suspended because I was out here, I guess, not knowing to go wash my hands after getting some pine tar. But I did
Nobody
that.
said anything to you?
It wasn't a lot. I mean, my hands were sticky, but it wasn't like, yeah, it wouldn't have been noticeable. Like, it wasn't like coming off on the ball, but my hands were definitely sticky. Like, I'm sure the pitchers appreciated it.
I can tell you Tanner Houck didn't.
Yeah, that's true. 4 walks today. But yeah, a lot of the players got a kick out of seeing me do all the clubby work. And again, not something that I didn't have an appreciation for prior to doing it. And then you go and do it, and it's like the players will come off the field and just dump their cleats on like a rack, and then you got to take the wire brush and you got to scrape all the shit off of it. Then someone else sprays it, and then they've got to take like a scrub brush and scrub them down, and then they dry them off, and then they put them back. And some players will get their spikes washed like 2 or 3 times in a day. And if there's 150 players in camp, like just think of, and that's only one part of their job is to clean off the spikes as they come in. So there's that. You're setting up the fields. Like in the morning, you got to bring like the weighted bats over. You got to bring a bag of balls over. You got to bring the sticky shit for the bats, like the stick and the pine tar and all that. You got to make sure all the fields are set up. It's a whole thing. But it was very, very interesting as a baseball fan to get to see that up close. Like not just like what they're doing, but how to do it and how to do it correct. So yeah, shout out to the boys over there in the Red Sox clubhouse. Tommy Mack runs the Red Sox home clubhouse. Pookie does the visitors clubhouse, but he wasn't there. We were mostly with the home guys. So yeah, it was pretty fun. So we did an episode where I was the clubby for the day. We did an episode with Kiké with the wine and paint night, which was crazy because so the whole premise for that episode, the concept of the show is I will do like the Red Sox players like hobby away from baseball with them, and like they'll teach me how to do it. So I go to Kiké and I'm like, I think it would be way funnier if we just made up what your talent is. Like if we just picked something completely random and just said that like, yeah, this is like what I love to do in my spare time. It's my passion, but you've just never done it before. So we settled on wine and paint night, and we go there and we're sitting across from each other, but the canvases are back to back, so we can't see the other's painting. And there was a girl there, Bree, shout out, paint with the twist. If you're ever in Fort Myers, paint with a twist, tell them that me and Kiké sent you. And the girl Bree was up there going step by step, telling us what to do, and like we're following instructions and this and that, and wipe your fucking brush off and use this color and dip it in here and stroke like that. And I thought I was doing a pretty good job for someone that's never done it before. And Kiké also had never done it before. So I thought his was going to be horrendous. And here I am thinking I did a good painting. So at the end, we're like, all right, 3, 2, 1, flip it. And I just started dying laughing because his was outstanding. He did like, for someone that went into it. He was like, yeah, like I'm going to draw like stick figures of like my family or something so that it, like at the end, like it's like a shitty painting. It was a magnificent painting. Kiké is an artist. He is a true artist. And if you were watching the ESPN broadcast, they had Kiké and Justin Turner were mic'd up, and Kiké apparently came home because he lives with Turner for spring training and dubbed himself Kikasso. So they were looking for a place to hang the painting in their house. It came out fantastic, and that episode at some point is also coming. Jake, were you watching the game live today?
Yeah. Someone got the clip before I did, but that was hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah. What a world. What a world. Where we just ESPN, you got Ravi up there, Eduardo Perez calling the Tyler's texting us again.
It's always right as you're about to finish a thought and he's going to respond. And he just chokes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, how bad does your internet have to be to drop out like that as much as his does?
I don't know, but he's got it.
He's back?
No.
Okay. Baseball America has ranked the Red Sox prospect system 10th best in baseball. And this is after Keith Law had them ranked 23rd. 23rd. And I know a lot of people were up in arms about Keith Law ranking the Red Sox farm system 23rd. But I don't know. It's one guy, whereas Baseball America is a group of people who come together to make these decisions. And 10th. And I went back and looked because I was curious, and I knew it wasn't good. Obviously, I wanted to go back and look to see where the Red Sox farm system was ranked when Chaim Bloom got the job. Do you know where the Red Sox farm system was ranked when Chaim Bloom was hired by Baseball America?
Last.
Dead last. They were 30th out of 30 teams, and now they're 10th. And I know that I'm not gonna name names. I'm not gonna name names because it is what it is. Maybe if Tyler was here, which he's not, or maybe he is, maybe he's sitting there and he can see this and he can hear this. Maybe Tyler would want to name names and talk about certain specific media segments that happened on the air somewhere. But some people saw the Red Sox getting ranked 23rd by Keith Law and took that as an opening to start shitting on the Boston Red Sox, taking shots on Chaim Bloom. And I threw a tweet out there saying, yeah, Baseball America has them ranked 10th. And they took that as defending Chaim Bloom blindly, just being like, oh, you'll take any chance to defend Chaim. That's not true. When he makes decisions that I don't agree with, I say I don't agree with them. There are some people out there that blindly just like whatever Chaim likes. That's not how I feel. Obviously, there are things that happen in the Red Sox organization over the last 4 years that I've been pretty upset about. And when I do say that I'm upset about them, then I get called a negative person. But if I agree with the things that Chaim does, then I'm a Red Sox ass kisser. There's really no winning in that scenario. But I will say this. You should note that for Baseball America, there's two factors here. There's two factors with the grading of the Red Sox system. People were pointing out that Masataka Yoshida is considered a prospect by Baseball America, which helps them get up to number 10. But Brian Bayo, because he pitched like an extra 7 innings last year, has graduated and is no longer a prospect. So you could take it or leave it if you want to say, oh, it's inflated because they gave $100 million to Yoshida. So he's not really a prospect. So that kind of inflates how good the farm system really is. Well, guess what? Like, Bayo's pretty much a prospect still. And he's not being factored in. So right now you've got Marcelo Meyer. Tristan Casas is still number 2. according to Sox prospects. Miguel Blaze, who has been lighting the world on fire. Rafaela, whose cleats I cleaned this morning. Nick York's in there. Brian Mata, who Alex Cora mentioned as someone that could factor in as a guy this year. And I guess it would be unfair of me to continue this conversation without Tyler. So we're gonna pause. We're gonna pause until Tyler's computer ramps back up.
And while we pause to wait for Tyler's computer to ramp up for the 5th time tonight, let's talk some Blue Moon. Spring training is here, which means baseball is finally back. Blue Moon gives you a dose of ballpark nostalgia to get you excited for the baseball season. In fact, Blue Moon was born in a ballpark at the Sandlot Brewery in Denver, Colorado. Its bold flavor, bright explosion of color, and iconic orange slice ritual guarantee a one-of-a-kind beer experience perfect for spring training weather. One of my favorite times to enjoy an ice-cold Blue Moon is when I'm editing a podcast at 11 o'clock at night and I have to download 7,000 different files because one of the co-hosts, who, by the way, has a full-time job at the most popular radio station in Boston, can't figure out how to plug a goddamn microphone into his computer. Any comment on that, Tyler? Yeah, well, I came into the show tonight with this whole new setup and I was so excited to debut it, but then all of a sudden... And he cut out again. From its refreshing flavor with a Valencia orange peel for a subtle sweetness and hints of coriander, Blue Moon Belgian-style wheat ale is a one-of-a-kind beer that's made brighter. It's carefully crafted and full-flavored with refreshing notes and a smooth, creamy finish. Why strike out with the same old beer when you can get something one-of-a-kind? Best served with a signature orange garnish to showcase its beautiful hazy color. A beer this good only comes around once in a blue moon, but you can enjoy it all season long. Bring the ballpark to you for spring training. Blue Moon Belgian-style wheat ale is a one-of-a-kind every time. Get Blue Moon delivered by visiting get.bluemoonbeer.com/Jared to see your delivery options. That's get.bluemoonbeer.com/Jared. Blue Moon, made brighter. Celebrate responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado Ale.
All right. We're rejoined by Tyler. You know him as Tyler Milliken, 98.5 The Sports Hub, an associate producer. He produces a very, very popular radio program. No fucking idea how to get his own ship into the water and afloat. Do you have anything to say for yourself?
These waters aren't regular waters. For the people who don't know, and I know, for those who are watching, you can tell my background has changed. I have created a new setup in the last week or so, from last episode to this episode. I built my new desk that I had got for Christmas that I just had not had a chance to actually sit down and construct. And I knew it was going to take me a while. It took me 2 days because I'm not an architect. You know what I mean? I had to learn how to use the tools. I had to piece things together. Did that. Got a second monitor. Figured things out with the mic. Got the XLR cables. In the first 10 minutes of the podcast, the XLR cables, they shit the bed on me. I don't know what happened. I'm back to recording the USB style. The second monitor doesn't even work. It turns on, but it mirrors everything I'm doing on the first one. So, unfortunately, the second monitor, it just keeps saying the device won't show up. Okay, hopefully we can figure that out.
How to fix that.
And then
how excited were you to roll out all this new stuff this week?
So excited. And I'm wearing contacts. I went to the eye doctor and finally got a pair of contacts again. Like, this was supposed to be my episode.
This motherfucker fixed his eyes for this this podcast. And what a disaster. What a disaster from you.
You said I was due for a W. You said I was due for a W.
Yeah. You still are.
You still are. Clearly not.
It's just, it's not this week. This guy's sick. Can't get his computer to work. Can't get his audio. Jake, do you have anything to say about this?
It's just a real tough debut for the new setup.
Mm-hmm. It is a tough debut for the setup. I mean,
for those who
this dude built a fucking background studio desk. He's got new mics. He's got new XLR cables. He's got monitors. He's got everything. None of it works.
I have all the tools and they're all fucking broken. All the tools are broken and I bought them brand new.
Yeah, everything's brand new. That's the tough part.
Yeah, that means the person's
is that you would expect everything that's brand new to work. Yeah. Everything's working right now, right?
For now.
It's time to live in the now, Tyler.
You're right.
Don't pout. Figure it out. Live in the now.
I don't like the
live in the now, Tyler.
Live in the now. I'm living in the now. I'm not pouting. I'm figuring it out.
Yeah.
I don't feel so good.
Just live in the now. Yeah, you gotta live in the now. And before you left, the now is that the Red Sox farm system is ranked 10th by Baseball America. Did you have any thoughts on that? I'm sure you do.
Oh, I had plenty of thoughts. You know who didn't have thoughts on it? John Tomasi or Tony Maz or everyone who had no friggin' problem dunking on the Red Sox when Keith Law placed them 23rd. 10th. Do I think it's on the high end? I'd have them probably in that 10 to 15 range. Now, for people who look at Baseball America, Masataka Yoshida is part of the 5 prospects on that list. So, that is a little bit of a boost to them. It's not Baseball America's fault. It's the way the CBA works because of, with draft picks, depending on where you finish and, voting and everything like that at this point. But yeah, acting like they're 23rd, that he had them behind the Phillies is absurd. Prospect 1500 has them 11. Kylie had them 14. Fangraphs has Miguel Blaze 20th, the 20th best prospect in the sport, as we talked about last week. They're going to be in the upper echelon. They had them 9 at the end of last year. So yeah, I feel good. MLB Pipeline's going to probably have them in that, I'd call it 11 to 14 range. It's just fair. And to see finally the system, listen, is it perfect? No, nobody's trying to say it's perfect or anything like that. But when you graduate a Brian Bayo, who was a top 25 prospect in the sport last year, graduated by 7 innings, and you move up 1 spot, you were in 11th place the year prior or at the midseason mark last year. That's progress. Before, when a prospect would graduate, and he wasn't the only one, Cutter Crawford was a top 20 guy who graduated last year. Josh Winkowski, Jarren Duran was on top 100 lists still last year. Say what you want about the players, but you actually had pieces graduate and move on. When we've seen waves of prospects come through in the past, it's like, all right, that was cool. Now the farm system's back to being completely destroyed. There's waves coming, and you see the next one now. Whether it's the 3 arms of AAA, Murphy, Walter, and Mata, awesome. Rafaela on the way as well. You see the farm system's making progress. Does it make you feel better about where the team is this year? You know what I mean? It shouldn't be a bridge year. We get that. We've talked about it all off season, but that's where they are. We're positive about it. But the farm system acting like it's complete garbage and Chaim Bloom, what are you doing? How is your farm system not even competent? All of that's bullshit. It's just people trying to crap on the Red Sox and make it look worse.
Correct. That is all that was. When they were 23, because of Keith Law, everyone was just using that as an excuse to come at Chaim Bloom, have another laugh at the Red Sox and their misfortunes. But in Matt Barnes talked about this in the interview that we had with him. By the way, fucking Catillo and Pete Abe sharing that tweet from Matt Barnes, or the quote from Matt Barnes. He said that exact same thing on this podcast a literal month ago. I think the day that quote came out, the next day was the 1 month anniversary that Matt Barnes was on this podcast and said the exact same thing, which is fine. I mean, if you don't want to use us for news, if you don't want to listen for information on the Boston Red Sox, that's fine. That's fine. But you're a fucking idiot.
Jared, I can tell you the quote was so exact to the point that Nesson, when they did the video interview, they didn't show that specific clip before the game. They showed him just thanking Red Sox fans. We couldn't get access to it. We played the clip from this pod because I was like, it's exactly the same. I was like, there's no need to go, just read it off the paper. You can hear it yourself just directly from us.
Love that.
It was there.
Do they credit the Name Redacted podcast?
They did full podcast audio. Wow. And they were like, oh, wow, they did have it a month before.
A month before. A fucking month before.
Everything down to the friggin' spreadsheet comment. All of it was in there.
Yeah. Yeah. You could tell he was sitting on that. You could tell that he said it on the podcast. He was like, damn, that was a bar.
Yeah.
It was a bar. I can't wait to get to spring training for someone to ask me about that. And I could just let it rip again. But yeah, just one last thing about the prospect rankings, because the reason why I brought up Matt Barnes is because I think he said something about no one cares about prospect. He said something like that. like if people care about like winning championships, not like prospect rankings or something like that, or like where your farm system ranked. I forget. It was something like that. I don't want to put words in
along
his
those
mouth.
lines.
It was something like that where like if you do have like a top farm system in baseball, like that's sick, but people care about winning World Series. I think the counter to that is pretty obvious. Like if you have a top farm system, that's a path to winning a World Series. Maybe not in every market. If you're, say, for example, the Pittsburgh Pirates and you have the top farm system in baseball, does that mean that you're going to win a World Series? No, because how many of those guys are going to graduate, become stars? And like we saw Xander Bogaerts, perfect example. He comes up. I don't want to say he inherited a World Series team because he was good. He contributed to that championship in 2013. But I don't think at that point people were calling him a piece of the core. There was no core, really. I mean, I guess the core was like Lester, Pedroia, Ortiz still. Like that was the core. And the supplemental pieces were really the lifeblood of that championship. Xander was part of the championship core in 2018, no doubt. But I think when you talk about teams having top farm systems and then turning that into a championship, you do need to spend, because by the time Xander was here, like he got paid, he had extensions. Like that was something that, like Rafael Devers, another guy, like you pay guys to come up, become the player that they're going to become, and then you pay them to stay. You pay them to hopefully win a championship by staying. Very rare are you going to have enough pieces to come up and have your 6 years service time and have that all sync up like the fucking Kansas City Royals in 2015, where it's like these guys all came up at the same time. None of them were on mega deals. Like they weren't like, there was no $200 million, $300 million contracts for like the Hosmers and the Moustakas and who fuck else was part of that core?
With
like Alcides Escobars.
Yeah. Edison Volquez, right? Like
and fucking the fuck Salvador Perez,
Alex
guys
Gordon.
like that. Like they weren't on monster. Alex Gordon. He did get a deal, but it wasn't huge.
No,
and I think it was after they won.
It was like 3 years or something. It wasn't crazy. I remember the Red Sox and him were connected a very little bit.
Yeah,
but you're supposed to supplement.
The same.
Like that's the name of the game. And if you can supplement your core, and we saw it with 2018, like what made that team so special and why fans felt so connected was it was a homegrown core. Like Alex Spear's book, Homegrown, like you could take that and inject it with these other things. Now, Heimblum's trying to be a little bit more sustainable so that it's not what happened, a year later where it kind of really hit them very hard. You try to walk that line the right way, but this is the first step towards getting back to that point. In when you look at the farm system, is it a little top heavy? Yeah, it is. But for those people that want to sit there, Heimblum's had 2 real drafts. Like he had the 2020 draft. He had 4 picks in 5 rounds. Like think about that. 4 picks in 5 rounds. And then he's had 2 real drafts since. Anyone who follows minor league baseball or whatever it may be, it takes time for these guys to come through. Like everyone who wants to go and say, oh, Tristan Casas belongs to Dave Dombrowski. Brian Bayo belongs to Dave Dombrowski. Do you realize how many years they've been in the minor league system now? Do you realize how long it takes for those guys to kind of get to that point where they're pushing the big leagues? Not everyone is Juan Soto and immediately kicking the door down. Now, Miguel Bleis could turn into that. Who knows, right? He has maybe some of that pedigree to him, but still, it takes time for that to develop. But for the system to consistently be pushing through waves where you can see, a wave coming through right now, you can see the next wave of, hopefully Myers kicking the door down to AAA. By the end of this year, maybe Nick York is doing the same thing. You have the likes of Mikey Romero right behind him. And you look at it and it's like, okay, I get it. I see where all this is coming from. It's good. The farm system is in a good spot. Is it perfect? No. But if you want sustainability and you want constant waves of help, this is the first part. And that's the Red Sox see it. That's why they're doing a bridge year this year. That's the whole point of it in the first place. It's like, hey, we realize we're not ready to go there yet, but a year or two from now, when we have, this wave coming, Bayo, Casas right now, the other guys that are going to come up this year and the following year, then we can supplement them and chase championships.
Yeah. And you can see it. You can see it, right? Like the end of last year, you look around the diamond, You see Casas at first base. They've already, I don't know what kind of degree of extension talks that they've had, but that's a guy that you obviously identify about, having a conversation. You like it here? Great. Let's talk. Just like the Atlanta Braves. You got Devers there. It would have been nice to still have Xander, but we move on. We don't dwell on the past. That's not something that we're going to do here. And even just kind of looking at the Christian Vasquez trade, which I don't know, out of the 19 bullet points, which I'm not chirping. This is all great stuff, Tyler. Tyler's topics. You do have the Emmanuel Valdez hype is a bullet point here. And I'd like to discuss that because it is. Did I freeze? I froze.
You did. You're back.
I'm back. The Emmanuel Valdez hype is real. Like, that's a real thing. Like, that's happening down here. And I will say that talking to some of the newcomers on this Red Sox team, unnamed newcomer of the Boston Red Sox, I talked to him and he was like, I didn't know that like these young guys were this good. Like, they're the guys that are coming from outside the organization over here are looking at these young stars that the Red Sox have, and they're like, I didn't know that it was legit. And they didn't mention any names, but we did get to talking about Valdez, and they're like, yeah, like this dude can fucking rake. So that gets me excited. That gets me excited that we can sit here as fans and tweet out the side-by-side and the gifs of the Juan Soto stuff and whatever. Kevin Youkilis made the comparison on the broadcast, right?
Yes.
And then he hit a home run immediately. So I talked to Yuke in the lobby yesterday for like an hour, just talking ball, just a couple seam heads talking ball down in the lobby. And we were talking about Valdez, and I think it's cool when someone who, like, we fans have a different eye than the guys who go out there and actually do it. The guys who have gone out there, play the game at a high level. We're talking all-stars here, and they can look at some of the younger guys here and be like, pretty legit. Because fans can overhype, like, no doubt. Like, I like, now that I say that, I can't think of, like, what would be a good example of that? The first name I thought of was like Pedro Siriaco. Who?
Yeah, Ryan Fitzgerald in spring training last year. It felt like people got so caught up in that a little bit. Where in Uke, I know is super into Ryan Fitzgerald. I get it, but people were, like, is Ryan Fitzgerald going to make the opening day roster? Like, people buy into the hype, and it's no disrespect to Ryan Fitzgerald. I think he could be a fine utility player in this league at some point. But you see people cling to stuff like that and kind of think, is this the next one? It's like, no. But someone like Emmanuel Valdez, who hit 28 jacks last year between AA and AAA with a 918 OPS, that's not a mistake. You don't just run into that. And there's a reason. Listen, you can go back and play the tapes of this podcast when we were talking about the luxury tax at that time and the problems. There was not a soul. We all said we liked the Christian Vasquez trade for what you got back. Scouts at that time immediately gave Bloom credit. And we know, based on that Jason Stark article, a lot of these other executives in this league do not like Chaim Bloom. So for them to immediately tip their cap and say that was a good move, boom. And who else went deep today? Wiljer Abreu. Now, if you also go back, I called him Wiljer back then. I've switched to Wiljer because I heard everyone else saying it. Will Fleming called him Wiljer today on the broadcast. So I'll go with Wiljer. He hit a grand slam today. Like, both of those guys from the Christian Vasquez trade are hitting. And that's where you see, like, oh crap. These are two guys who are not even upper echelon prospects that, especially on Valdez, could have a legit role on this team going forward. And it may not be opening day,
he could,
but it could be the middle of the year. And who knows? Valdez needs to figure it out defensively. We all saw it that first game in spring training in that 9th inning. He had that ball that kind of got skipped right by him. He's got to figure it out there. He plays a little third. He plays the corners a little bit, but he can hit. And we know damn well if you can hit in this league, it doesn't matter. They will find a place for you.
You know who else can hit?
Who?
Christian Arroyo.
Oh, big day for Arroyo.
Huge day. Couple homers, grand slam. I think, it's everyone likes the shiny new toy, and I'm not saying that Valdez is not a guy that could make an impact this year. All I'm saying is that when Alex Cora showed up to spring training, he said, Christian's the guy. He's our starting second baseman. And then Valdez hits one home run. You get one viral gif where he looks like Juan Soto, and now everyone is like, oh yeah, let's get Valdez at second base. But step by step here. He hasn't played in AAA yet, right?
Valdez?
Yeah.
Oh, no, he has. He got a decent taste when he was with the Astros, and then he came and played on the Red Sox last year. But like, if we're being real here,
okay,
while he hit pretty well in 38 games at Houston's AAA affiliate, he did not hit well at Worcester. Once he got here, it was a 731 OPS. So you throw that with, there's probably a little growth that still needs to take place, plus the defense. I'm not putting him on my opening day roster.
Okay.
Doesn't mean he won't come up in the middle of the year.
Sure. I'm sure you'll see him.
That's it. It's good to see him hit. Like, that's what you're looking for. There's strides that need to be made. If something happens to Christian Arroyo, it's like, oh, shit. All right, well, now we're going to have to pull the emergency handle and figure out what we're doing here. But with Arroyo, with Mondesi, Yu Chang has a major league deal as well at this point. They got some options. It's just, Valdez is knocking that door down. I just think he's going to have to kick it down at AAA before they call him up. And Christian Arroyo, people are so disrespectful about him. Yeah, the injuries, they're real, and you should think about them and be worried about them. The dude's been an above league average hitter both of the years he's been here. He plays good defense at second base. It's just staying healthy. He is a major league quality player. Emmanuel Valdez, we don't know if he's major league quality, at least right now. Of course, Arroyo deserves a chance to run with this job, especially when he's hitting oppo shots over the bullpen. Christian Arroyo's doing that? That made me feel something.
I always feel something for Christian Arroyo. I fucking love him. I really do.
And what I like about what the Red Sox did at second base is that they realized, you need to be a little careful with Arroyo. So they went and got another guy you got to kind of be careful with in Mondesi. And if you can give both of those guys, you're not asking the world of either one. Can you keep both healthy and get the best of both? I think that's probably the best way to utilize those guys.
I also think that the Arroyo injury stuff is majorly overblown. Like the major injuries that we're talking about were getting hit by pitches and getting COVID. Like, outside of that, what else were the injuries?
There's been a couple. He's found ways.
Those were the big ones. Those were the big ones.
Yeah, he was dealing with some of the weirdness. I'm pulling up his what's it called? His RotoWire right now. He had, what was it that got him twice in the middle of last year that he just couldn't shake at the time?
I'll tell you right now. I got a special secret website that I use that I bet you've never even heard of. Yep.
This is what the pros do.
Professional database. Yep. Search all transactions. Christian Arroyo. Arroyo. And then we want to
I don't think he's even admitted this recently that he's had to change kind of some of his workouts. I think now, instead of lifting heavy and kind of not infrequently, but a little breather in between, he's now doing lighter lifting every single day to kind of counteract it a little bit. But you don't randomly walk into his time miss. It's been half a season both years basically.
Christian Arroyo last year,
left groin strain,
illness day to day, left groin strain, was on the IL for that. COVID, that he was. Oh yeah, COVID. He I don't even know if we actually had it. Last year, that was June. I feel like that was a roster spot thing. Calf injury, but that he was day to day with that. And now we're back in 2021 with COVID. Yeah. So 2022,
he had the stretch at first base.
Yeah. This is all day to day bullshit. The IL with COVID, which was a roster move. And then he was on the IL for 3 weeks in July with a left groin strain. That was it. Everything else is bullshit. It was just like COVID roster manipulation shit. So, yeah, he went on the IL on July 9th and came back on July 30th with the groin.
And then COVID again right after that.
COVID, yeah. So I think the injury stuff with the Royals largely overblown. And whatever, like if you feel that way about him and you're like, all right, well, we need to see it, then fine. That's fine. Because he's going to get his opportunity this year. Like he's going to get an opportunity. Like this is his path. If you have Alex Cora saying you're the guy, then the only person that can take that opportunity away from you is you. Like if you still need to see what Valdez is doing at AAA and he hasn't performed yet with Worcester, then you shouldn't feel like there's someone breathing down your neck. You should feel like this is my job. And as long as I do my job, then it's my job. Like that's how I feel about it. And I have been a long defender of Arroyo's ability to play every day at the big league level. I think that 2021 was just shit luck. When he was in there, he looked great, but he had some shit luck that kept him out of the lineup. And then last year, and the opportunities that he had, he made the best of them. So now if it's just, hey, clear path, this is your job, and fucking go out there and do it, kid. Goes out there today, couple homers, grand slam. He's playing with some confidence. Maybe he sees the Valdez hype that we're talking about. And he's like, you know what? That's fine. You guys can hype him up all you want. I'm going to go out there and hit a grand slam and then hit another fucking homer oppo. Then you can also suck on my nuts.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes.
And I think that's where people got to draw the line, like you said. If you're getting hyped about Emmanuel Valdez and you're saying like, oh, this guy's starting second baseman on opening day, reel it in. You could be excited about him as a prospect and where he's at. But Christian Arroyo deserves that opportunity. But like, I think another thing, Alex Cora said it today, like Arroyo wanted to go play for Team Puerto Rico. Cora basically told him no after the game. I don't know if you caught that. Cora's like, yeah, he's not doing that. Like I do think they worry about keeping him healthy. And I do think it's fair. Like even just looking here, like 2021, it's like left hand, knee, hamstring. Like obviously the groin kept him out for a couple weeks. And he talked about a couple days ago as well, telling trainers from now on when something's bugging him to let them know immediately. He's kind of trying to work on that because like Verdugo, he's one of those guys that's like trying to push through it when, take one day so it doesn't cost you 3 weeks. You know what I mean? Because he went out and pushed again. But he wasn't, the kind of prospect he was for no reason. There was a reason people were hyped about Christian Arroyo when he debuted with the Giants. It's just keep him right. That's the main thing here. Cora's on it. They're all on it. And like a lot of the roster, the talent's there, but can they stay on the field?
I saw one thing. This is not a criticism of you, Tyler. It's
Talk
not a
to me.
criticism. This is one thing that I saw is not on your list. That actually is not on your list. It's a tweet that was a quote that really it did something for me. And I believe it was yesterday, the day before. Alex Cora was asked, has anyone jumped out at you this spring? And he said one word, which was one name. Paxton.
Starts tomorrow.
And the early talk was that James Paxton was not going to make the rotation. He was going to be the odd man out. He was going to be in this weird, like, long man bullpen type role. Which now with Nick Pivetta, he had COVID and there was a setback, and now he's not pitching for Team Canada. He had a quote today about like, I'm a starter, and like the starter's gonna start, and like all I know how to do is start. It's like, well, he might find himself in a situation where now he's in the spot that Paxton was just in. So I can tell you right now, Paxton he'll start tomorrow, which is Friday.
Yes.
Paxton is 93-95 right now.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah. That's a little scoop from the fort.
Wow.
It's a little something from down here in Fort Myers. Paxton's 93-95 right now. I know a lot of people were making a big to-do about Kluber's velocity in his first spring training outing, which was last night, Wednesday. Paxton's 93-95. And if that's how he's throwing right now, which was at the time in February when we had him on the gun, then I would imagine that that's only going to improve should he stay healthy. And like Chris Sale, Paxton's a guy he's got a lot of bullets left in the chamber. He's about as rested could be. And, from going around talking to guys, I think the reason why he's here, because, I don't know if it was like criticism, more kind of just like, I guess, questioning the thought process. People being like, he must regret not testing the free agent waters, like opting out, and he probably could have got more money. He could have got years, whatever. He kind of feels like he owes the Red Sox a little something. Like, I took a paycheck last year to rehab on your dime. So I feel like he is in the mindset where I want to pay this team back, this organization back, for getting me back to where I need to be. And I think he's motivated to prove a lot of people wrong this year. And I kind of I made the point back at Winter Weekend where if you have Chris Sale, Corey Kluber, and James Paxton in the same rotation back in 2016, 2017, people are talking about multiple championships. Like, these are guys that have won Cy Young awards, all-star appearances. Like, these are fucking guys. So to sit there and think they don't have something to prove, or they feel like they don't have anything to prove, or there's nothing left in the tank, you're wrong. And that's why when Alex Cora said Paxton, one word, one answer, done, when asked like who's jumped out at you, that did something for me. And before the whole like, is he going to take Nick Pavetta's spot in the rotation stuff started happening, I was going to say I still think that Paxton finishes top 3 in innings pitched for the Red Sox this year.
Wow.
Before it was even like yeah. Like, I think Paxton finishes top 3 on the team in innings pitched this year. How do you feel about that take?
It's bold. The innings, like, I think when we see James Paxton, like, I still expect him to be, like, his stuff should be there. It's not like we're talking Corey Kluber and, it's not diminished goods. It's disrespectful to say that, but we see, like, Kluber's had to learn to pitch a different way at this point in his career. It's just where he's at. You know what I mean? But where James Paxton is, he's pitched over 150 innings twice in his career. It was 2018 and 2019. But like you said, it stuck out to me too for Cora, who has been so careful talking about guys during spring training, just not wanting to put expectations on anyone. We've seen it with Chris Sale, where it's like, hey, let's just take it by session and cross your fingers. We hope he comes out and we'll be happy with it. Whitlock, as he's tried to progress, it's like, let's see, Bayo. Obviously Paxton hasn't had a setback or anything like that, but for Paxton to be one of these guys that are coming off so many injuries and so many different things like that, or, just Tommy John in his case, but such a long layoff, it's like, if he's excited about it, that should tell you something. And it's rare for a guy in today's game to be like, I owe that team something after I collected a paycheck last year. And we knew it. Like, a lot of people counted James Paxton out at the end of last year, but when he got hurt and it was it for him, that was a major blow to the Red Sox. Like, for a team that was so desperate for pitching help at that time, he was kind of one of the last things we were holding on to. So it'd be awesome to see if he can kind of reconstruct it here. I don't blame him for wanting to stick around. He definitely could have got more money, but that's a Scott Boras problem. Definitely. That's not a James Paxton problem. And for James Paxton, It's like, who gives a fuck if you took $4 million for this year? If you go out and throw 100 to 100, I know you're saying maybe he finishes with the third most innings on the team. If he throws 100 innings and he's James Paxton or anything close to what he was, dude, there's going to be teams lining up with multi-year deals. He's not going to have a problem getting paid again. So I'm excited he feels like he has something to prove. And if he goes out there tomorrow and he balls out or just looks, anything close to himself, that has me excited because, not worrying about Chris Sale. I'm not trying to put panic out there, but it seems like they've kind of been a little careful about where his velocity's at. Cora's had some comments like, he's building up. He's trying to get to that point. To hear Paxton's already pumping 93, 95, that gets me excited. I think that's the stuff you kind of cling to, because if you can get through the start of this year, that first month, and you have Sale going through every turn, Paxton going through every turn, Kluber, Whitlock, Bayo, and that's just funneling, that pitching staff talent-wise can compete with almost anyone. Almost anyone. And you put a chip on their shoulder on top of it, of everyone around them saying, they're going to fall apart or they're washed or whatever it may be. That's how you come out the gate and you can surprise a lot of people. That's the stuff that you get excited about.
That's the good shit, Tyler. That's the good shit.
Now, can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
I know Chris Sale threw another bullpen today, or yesterday now. He's planning to throw Monday. Have you heard anything about stuff-wise? I know you've heard, now you told us about Paxton. Is there anything Sale-wise you've heard, or is it just, right timing? You ended up getting that little Paxton scoop.
No, I mean, I haven't really asked much. I didn't see Sale face Yoshida. Who I don't know who else he threw to.
I think Verdugo was part of it. Eli Marrero as well. But yeah, we all know he hit Yoshida like on the thigh or the calf or something, and they were all joking about it. But I don't know. I did see an interesting comment from Cora where he was like, "Yeah, Sale's velocity is like where it's at now," and I was like, "Oh, so does that mean like where it was a year ago, or
91, 93, or
right?" And I'm just like, I'm not one of those people. People are freaking out about Corey Kluber, like you said. Breathe. Like it is the beginning of March. Let these dudes ramp up. I'm not going to sit here and start counting velocity yet. But Sale has kind of talked about like, I'm not checking, like reporters have asked, what's your velocity? He's like, I don't know. I'm not keeping track. I'm just trying to repeat my mechanics. So like that on Monday, when it comes to Sale, like I'm very curious. Is he going to get in there and it's like 91, 92? And I'm not telling you if it is that you should panic or freak out, but I know the media will freak out. And I know that will be a story. Oh, look at where Chris Sale
That's going to be so annoying. Like, we've been doing velocity watch with Chris Sale for the last 5 years. Like, I remember in 2018 when he came back from whatever that was in 2018, everyone was like, oh, fuck. Like, if it's not, like, people forget that Chris Sale with the White Sox towards the end there, he was like 91, 93. And then he came to Boston and it was almost like the White Sox told him to hold back a little bit. And then Alex Cora was like, let it rip. Or at first it was Farrell. But in 2018 specifically, I remember he was like in that first half, he was just pumping hundos. And people just like couldn't grasp the concept that like he can do that if he wants to, but he doesn't need to. It's like you have one of the best sliders in the game. When he throws a changeup, it's like, all right, yeah, you're not a 2-pitch pitcher, fine. You throw a little changeup in there, here and there. And then he's like, yeah, I can throw 100 if I want to. That's great. But the whole velocity watch with Sale got annoying very fast because it's almost like people didn't know who he was before he came to Boston. Like he can get outs at 91, 93 because his slider is so good. Like if he's just spotting his fastball, you throw the best, I mean, arguably one of the best sliders in baseball. And it's like, yeah, you're going to get outs. You're going to get swings and misses. You're going to get weak contact, all of that. So I'm not going to panic if he's 91. Cause I mean, he was even getting hit, with like higher velocity. If you're not spotting it and he doesn't have a third pitch, cause like up until like last year, in 21, when he was mixing in the changeup there, it's like, if you're just a 2-pitch pitcher in the American League East, we saw it with Eddie. When Eddie refused to throw his changeup, it's like, bro, you need a third pitch. This is one of the most difficult divisions in the game to pitch in. If you're going to be starting, if you're going to be facing a lineup 3 times, you can't go out there with 2 pitches. You just can't. So I care less about his fastball velocity and more about, are we throwing a changeup? Great. Can you throw it for a strike? Awesome. How's the slider looking? Great. As usual. Fantastic. Is he throwing his fastball for strikes? He is? Fuck yeah. That's what I care about with Chris Sale.
And it's funny because like I was reading the report on his live BP. Like I wasn't one of the people down there watching it, but you read it, it's like, oh, he got some nasty swings on his slider. And then there was another sentence that's like, but he didn't blow a fastball by anyone. And I'm like, see, like they're already starting to try to plant like these little things here. And I just look at a year ago, I have a hard time believing his velocity took a major step back in a year, and it was only 5 2/3 innings. His 4-seamer averaged 94.9 last year. It was 93.6 in 2021. So yeah, if it's a little on the lower side to start, whatever, just stay healthy and get through. When it comes to the changeup, like you said, Chris Sale said he was scared that when he had the bike incident that he wouldn't be able to grip the changeup the same way anymore. Nothing's changed. He says he can grip it just like he did before. So hopefully he has better feel for it. I don't know. Like you said, if it looks like what it did during the postseason run in 2021, not great. You know what I mean? That's going to be a problem. But Cora said, when we get through April, let's get through it, and then we're going to let guys go. We're going to be very careful, and then we're going to be like, let it loose. I'm telling you, we know Chris Sale. His birthday is opening day, which I don't think a lot of people have kind of talked about. If they get into the regular season and he needs to reach back for it, it's there. I know for sure it's there. He pulled it out in 2021 in Houston when he needed it. We saw it kind of creeping up in that first Tampa Bay start. It's there. You may not see it. Give him time. It will, maybe not 100, but we'll see, that 97, 98 if he has to find it. It's just, they're not going to ask him to push 96. It that far because, that'd be beautiful. It's just, I don't want people trying. That's it. I just don't want people running with that narrative, and I can see the writing on the wall already for some.
It's going to happen. Yeah, it's inevitable. Mm-hmm. Like, he's just one of those guys that if at one point you were throwing 100, you're going to be on velocity watch for the rest of your career. It's just how that works. It's, if you're a triple digit thrower and you're a power pitcher, people are going to say, well, if he doesn't have the power part anymore, then what kind of pitcher are you? And we're not going to sit here and pretend like Chris Sale was only getting outs on his fastball, because that would just be a laughable sentiment. So that's why the changeup is so important. So we'll see. But listen, there's so much basketball to watch right now. It's crazy. And like a ball with a funky spin, it can be hard to get a handle on it all. Now you can stay on top of all the madness with the Xfinity 10G network. With Xfinity 10G, you can power an entire house full of devices with ultra low lag, so you and everyone you know can stream every single game at the same time and never miss a shot. And if you're on the go, Xfinity will still be right there with the assist, with millions of Wi-Fi hotspots. Introducing the next generation 10G network only from Xfinity. The future starts now. Learn more at xfinity.com/10G. Trying to think of anything else that could have been a thing at spring training. What is it, Tyler?
Okay, I got a lot of hate on this when I posted it the other day, but it felt like Jarren Duran very quickly got the conversation going again. Like, for a lot of people that immediately were done with him and sent him, to oblivion, fuck this guy, like, everything that happened with Tapia's Grand Slam last year, KC, and it took, 2 spring training games of him, a jack over the monster Oppo, a couple, a nice double catching left today, and people were like, oh, Jarren Duran? How quickly the conversation changes.
So I talked to him a little bit down here, and he's always been a muscular guy, as we all know. He's way bigger now. He is jacked. And that pains me to say, because I remember when him and Houck didn't make the trip to Toronto, and then me and Jake flew to Chicago. Like, we were on the same flight with Houck and Duran, and we were having a little bicep measuring contest. I was bigger than him. Now, he is fucking, his back is just like, he's on another level right now, and he's doing his own workouts is what he's doing. So I think he's always been a chip on his shoulder guy, but it's just a matter of how do you harness it. I think what we saw last year, it's like, yeah, you think the world's out to get you, no one believes in you. You can go that route and spiral. Like, if you think that no one believes in you and that, you don't belong here and you suck and this and that, you can spiral and you can prove people right because you're in your own head. it feels to me like he's in a completely different headspace. Getting to know him as a person over the last 2 years or however long it's been, he feels different. He's more like, I guess, focused is the word. He clearly last year did something to where he was just like, you know what, like how you see like on TikTok, like the geek in his like villain origin story gets his heart broken, and the next thing you know, he's like a professional bodybuilder. It's like, damn, who hurt you? Last season hurt him, and I think he has shown that in his physique. He came in with a different batting stance. He's already been hitting the shit out of the ball in these spring training games. I've been watching him in batting practice. Yeah, he just seems like a different guy, different player, different stance, different physique, like all of it. I think his attitude, I mean, from just like the handful of conversations down here, it seems like he has the right path. He's on the right path. And obviously, granted, you go out there and you sign Duvall, Yoshida, Kiké is kind of like, it's like a chessboard. Like you can move him back and forth, center field, shortstop. Like there's a lot of moving parts here where he probably will not, or does not, at least at this time, have the same opportunity that he had last year. But you start playing out of your mind, then you're going to give the Red Sox something to think about. And I think that just seeing the fan reaction so far to these like handful of games or whatever it's been, people are noticing that a Jarren Duran redemption tour could be upon us, which I would love to see. Like I would love to see his story arc get to the point where it's he's harnessing the fuck everyone feelings in the right way. Because I think last year he did not harness them in the right way, and I think that he would tell you that. But this year, I'm hoping that he harnesses them in the right way, which just results in a standout season for him. For a guy that, like we said, I think last week, was one of the more hyped up prospects in recent memory. Like that's still in there somewhere, and he's not at an age where it's like, well, what could have been, what should have been. Like we're not there yet.
No, and I think when you look at it, like you mentioned that new batting stance, he's eliminated the leg kick. Like he had that massive leg kick, and I'm not going to act like I'm a hitting instructor or anything like that. I'm the farthest thing, but we knew when that leg kick came, he was looking for power. When he changed his mechanics for the very first time and became, even this version of Jarren Duran that exploded at the ATS, it was because he went from this slap hitter, skinnier, small, fast guy, and the muscles were coming. Now, like you said, it's a different level today than even what it was a year ago. But it seems like for him, a guy who's struggled to catch up to high fastballs so regularly, you simplify it. You don't need all that, a leg kick to get the ball out of the ballpark anymore. Just that little toe tap, he smoked that thing over the monster. Oppo. And he's been going opposite field consistently so far this spring. And, we're only talking a couple games, don't get me wrong, but all right, those are the things you're looking for. And it's not the most perfect fit on the roster, like you said, with Duvall and everything. But for Alex Cora to mention, like, hey, Jarren Duran, when talking about leadoff hitters, and be like, in a perfect world, that's the kind of player that we'd have leading off for us. I think Cora shows like it may not make sense come opening day, but if something happens, that'd be 3 lefties in the outfield. It'd be a weird spot to be in. We know there might be a spot, for the last place on the bench, but would you want a Jarren Duran sitting on the bench and kind of just being that lefty bat? You'd probably want to put someone like Tapia in that position and say, hey, whatever, we don't care about your development. We want Jarren Duran. Yeah, and like they're kind of the same role. We see Tapia playing center field so far this spring a bit. It's like, if you want Jarren Duran to flourish, do you want him getting regular bats in AAA, or do you want him sitting on the bench and not getting consistent reps? And that might be a little bit of a tough conversation, but seeing who is rallying around him, you watched the Red Sox put out another one of their episodes down at spring training today. He's with Verdugo. He is attached to Verdugo. Like, they look like they don't go anywhere separated. And we know they had the mariachi band and they did their little project for Team Mexico together, which is cool. For a guy who did not feel like part of the team a year ago, I can't imagine what that means for him. For him to be able to sit there and be like, all right, like, who knows? My role is so up in the air, but I'm part of this. I got friends hanging around with Christian Arroyo a lot. I see Devers like going up to him and being like, look at your muscles, like joking with them back and forth. And once again, it's not a disrespect to the past guys that were here or whatever it may be.
Wow, he was doing so good. He was doing so good, Jake. He was on a roll. We had him for almost an hour.
Yeah, I mean, that was crazy. It was about
I
time
refuse to lose.
Trump.
I refuse to lose today, and I'm back.
There you go. He's back.
Legit, the page
He's
just
back.
expired. That was so weird.
Okay.
But with Jarren Duran as a whole, just to be embraced a little bit with the passing of a guard, it might just be a bit more comfortable for him with this next wave. Does it mean he's going to be who he needs to be? No. He needs to prove it over a long stretch of time. He needs to not change his mechanics 2 weeks when something's not working or he has a couple bad games. Stick with what you have. Stop tinkering. I don't want a different, a whole new stance every single week because you're trying different stuff. Stick to it and let it play out. I am, go to the WBC, go do what you want. Do I know if that's the best thing for him? I don't know. This feels like the kind of spring training where if you stuck around and really made noise all spring, it could do a lot for you. But we'll see. Who knows? If he goes on that stage and he shines, I guess a lot of people will be talking as well. So we'll see. He's going to be playing left field out there. I think that's why we saw him out there today. Cora wanted to get him some reps, but I wouldn't close the door on
He
Jarren
almost
Duran.
fucked his knee up today, too.
Yeah, that was a weird little catch, but he caught it. So I'll give him credit. I don't think that's a ball he catches last year. So I'm not closing the door on him. Who knows? It's a bridge year. If he can force your hand and he becomes an everyday player for you, Ian Cundall said he was talking to a scout the other day that still thinks that's possible for him. That would go a long way for this whole team.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I have not closed the door on him either. What's going on with Whitlock not being ready for opening day? Would Jen McCaffrey drop that?
I think it might have been Jen. It was someone. I know Chad Jennings ended up speaking with Whitlock and Houck, and they did the feature piece talking about how bad their injuries were a year ago now. Whitlock saying he couldn't even bend over at all anymore. Just wasn't a thing he could do with his body, and he kind of just accepted that was life for him at that point. Even Tanner Houck was like, yeah, I was fucked up, but Whitlock, man, dude was really fucked up. But the conversation went from Cora kind of stepping out and saying, who knows? Like, we're still building Garrett Whitlock up. He hadn't done PFPs yet. Let's see. If he's not ready for opening day, he'll be ready shortly after. That was basically how it was framed. And, the panic started to happen. I do know now, and I was just reading this in Pete Abe's latest notes, which fuck Pete Abe, but, at least he actually provided something
Tyler?
For once. Huh? Hey, he provided something.
I really want to I got to tell that Pete Abe story on this podcast. I'm sorry. I have to do it.
Do you want me to finish the Whitlock or do you need to say it?
No, I need to pause. I need to pause the Whitlock for this story.
Please.
So if you're a Section 10 fan, you obviously know the long-standing beef between Pete Abe and myself. Guy's just a fucking asshole. Everything was pretty much one-sided. I think it's been one-sided now. Like, obviously, I've been laying into him for like the last 6 years, but it all started with him being an asshole for like on the other side of that. I've just never let it go. So I'm down in Fort Myers, Florida, and I'm in the bathroom. Like, the bathrooms for the press box were like outside the press box. You had to like go outside the press box on this ramp, and then it was like men's bathroom, women's bathroom. So I come out, and I was in like they were like radio booths. So I wasn't in the press box, but it was all one shared bathroom. So I go out, I go in, take a leak. I'm washing my hands because I'm a civil human being. I'm at the sink washing my hands. Door opens, and it's none other than Pete Abe's. Door opens. He takes one look inside, sees me, and it's the Simpsons gif. He opened the door, saw me, turn around, walked straight out. Like, would not piss in the same bathroom as me. So I start dying laughing, and I just finish up washing my hands, and then I walk out, and then as I go out, I watch him go in the bathroom. Dude, it was the exact Simpsons gif of opening the door, walking in, turning around, and walking right back out. It was insane. Like, we're all adults here. Like, what do you think's gonna happen? What do you think? I'm washing my hands. You can't just walk behind me and walk to the urinal and take a piss. Like, you have to wait for me to exit. It was outrageous. One of the most bizarre things I've ever had happen in my life.
Now, putting myself in the shoes of a fearful man. When you've heard someone say they're going to put you in the fucking bathroom for so
That's
many
true.
times,
That's a good point.
right? Like,
That's
that was
a great
probably
point, Tyler.
the
That's
worst,
a great point.
thing that could ever happen is like, holy fuck, it's
That's a
him.
great
This
point.
is the bathroom. It's fucking over. Like, this is my worst
That's
nightmare.
a fucking great point by you, Tyler. Wow. I almost had an experience with Pete Abe in the bathroom. That he did not want to get put in the bathroom. That was
That's it.
He did not want to get put in the bathroom.
It's just, it
Wow.
takes a lot.
I don't know why that didn't register.
That was the first thing when you texted us and you started, my dog is screaming. That was the first thing when you texted me that. And I was like, oh my God, like it all kind of flashed in front of him. But for a grown ass man to choose to hold his piss and just be uncomfortable and be like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm going to sit over here and hold my piss because there's another man that I know that I don't get along with that doesn't fuck with me. I'm going to go sit over here.
Yeah.
Man, it's feeble. That's a tough place to be.
He would rather piss his fucking pants than be in the same bathroom as me. Crazy. Crazy.
I don't get it. I don't. That is such a tough spot, an embarrassing spot.
And there's probably like a, I don't know, 70% chance that he's listening right now because that's just who I think he is. All he would have to do to put an end to all this is have the fucking balls to come up to me and say, hey, I'm sorry that I was an asshole like all those years ago. Like, I treated you with disrespect and I was a piece of shit back then. I own it. I acknowledge it. And I'm sorry. And I hope we can move past this as adults. And I'd say, you know what? Suck my fucking dick, dude. But then I would probably get over it. Like, he would need to know that he was an asshole like on multiple occasions. And like, I don't know. I don't give, like, there's some people that you can just tell are like bad people. Like, that's not like an isolated incident. So I don't know that I would ever be like, we can move past, we can share a bathroom together. Like, we can at least get to the point where like you don't have to piss your pants.
Just as like a grown man, I would have had more respect if he was just like, I'm just going to walk in here. Like, was this a big bathroom? Was this like how would you describe it?
It was probably like there was like
4 to 6 urinals.
Two or three urinals in one stall.
Okay, so it is a
with
little
two
personal.
sinks.
All right, so I still would have respected him.
But
It's just as
like,
a dude. You were already at the sink.
The sink was next to the door. Yeah, like all you had to do to like walk in the door, and if I'm at the sink, you just walk behind me, and then you walk. Like, he could have gone in the stall.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I would have just respected that if he was like, "Fuck it," like I don't care if it's awkward. I'm just gonna walk in there and do my shit.
If roles were reversed, do you think that I'm walking in and I'm just like, oh,
No!
sorry, can't use the bathroom?
Like, that's weird ass
No.
behavior.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
God. Did anyone
Yeah.
like
It's-
when he walked out? Was he just sitting outside the bathroom door, or did he like walk away and have to come back?
He had to like walk away, go back in like the press box and come back. Like, he wasn't standing outside when I walked out. No.
Oh, God. I like that. The Red Sox aren't the only one who's
crazy.
undefeated in Fort Myers right now.
Yeah. Like, it honestly makes me uncomfortable how like he behaves. It's crazy. Just apologize. Just apologize.
He never will, though. There's no running from it anymore, so
No.
he just has to accept it.
Well, he doesn't think that he's wrong. Even though there are like receipts. Like, there are screenshots of emails of everything. I mean, he was an asshole. But I won't harp on it. I mean, people that listen to this podcast more than likely know the history. If you don't, you can Google it. It's on the internet. But yeah, I just thought that was funny that he just fucking whoop did a complete U-turn just because I was washing my fucking hands.
Should we return to Garrett Whitlock?
Please, yeah.
But yes, we found out that Whitlock's going to throw a live BP on Friday, 2 innings up and down. He threw a 40 pitch up and down a couple days back. And apparently, according to the man we just spoke about, game action will be next after that. So if you play the game in your head and you call it like 4 or 5 days, he's going to be like 2 or 3 days after Chris Sale. Which is kind of weird considering Chad Jennings reported that Whitlock believed, I believe it was Wednesday, that he was going to start doing PFPs in a week. But he's now facing live hitters. I don't know.
Either way, I'm fine with it. As long as Cora's saying, like, if he's not ready for opening day, then he will be ready sometime soon after that. It's not like they don't have options to keep the ship afloat for a few weeks.
That's the way I look at it. And I don't even think it'd be a few weeks. Like, I think that'd be worst case. But there's been no setbacks. He feels good. It's like, if it's a week, who cares? Take the week. Like, the Red Sox have legit enough starters to get through. If anything, it kicks the can down the road for a tough decision they have to make. Because Bayo hasn't had another setback. He threw his last bullpen at 80%. The last step is 100% and he has to throw a breaking ball. He's only been throwing fastballs and changeups. So if that goes well, or if Bayo needs another week or two, it all solves itself. It's why they haven't committed to any plan so far, because usually it kind of figures itself out for you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's March 2nd. We have
That's it.
Opening day is exactly 4 weeks from today.
That's crazy. Chris Sale, opening day, hopefully. Fingers crossed, knock on wood. On his birthday?
Yeah.
On his birthday?
On his damn birthday.
Can you imagine how crazy that's going to be?
You know what I just figured out is that Chris Sale is 4 days older than me.
Jeez, you're old.
Yeah.
That's tough.
I mean, we're both doing pretty good.
I have a hard time looking at you and thinking you and Chris Sale are the same age.
For real?
Like, in my head, that feels like a weird disconnect. I look at Chris Sale and I just...
Why? Because he has a wife and kids?
No, Chris Sale has old man energy a little bit. I think it's just because he's kind of wiry. He reminds me of, like, you know, your grandpa or something like that. I look at you. I don't think grandpa. You know, Jake, right?
Yeah, you think like Brock Lesnar.
Jake's my age, so he'll relate.
Yeah, no, my grandpa always gets on the mound and shoves 100.
Can I say anything that you'd ever back me on just once?
No.
Jake? One time?
No. I mean, Jake made a great point. Like, you're a fucking idiot for saying that. Chris Sale doesn't remind anyone of their grandpa.
I'm just watching Chris Sale, you know, be with his family and his kids after, and I'm like, Papa, like that's what it reminds me.
That's what I just said. I literally just, Jake, did I not literally just say that? Like, why? Because he has a wife and kids,
different.
and Tyler was like, no. He's like, and then 10 seconds later, he's like, yeah, because he has a wife and kids.
But like, just I don't know. It gives me grandpa. You don't give me grandpa. You give me spunky. You know, young 30s. Like, what's my next chapter?
I am
like,
in my 30s.
I know, like early 30s. Like,
yeah.
Ooh, what's gonna happen next?
I am.
You know what I mean? Like Ted Mosby
30s.
from How I Met Your Mother. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How can we move forward?
I guess. I did
This
see
is a really bad day.
Chris Sale. I saw Chris Sale's back tattoo when I was down at Fort Myers, and it's like across his shoulder blades where like the nameplate on a jersey would be, and it just says Sale, and it looks like it's like dripping in blood. And I was like, that is typical. That is Florida man behavior, and I like it a lot. So it's very Florida man.
Are you being for real?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I never would have guessed that. I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
That's not grandpa energy.
No, it's Florida energy.
But Florida's kind of grandpa.
Yeah, it can be for sure. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of old people live here, but
Back to why I was right.
Sale. There's definitely a crossover for sure. Yeah, old people in the Sale family.
I appreciate you acknowledging that.
Brian Johnson was there on I can't remember what day it was, but he's like coaching like JV and varsity somehow. I don't know. He was there with like varsity and like he's from Cocoa Beach. He had like some sort of baseball team that he was coaching, and Chris Sale came out and took pictures, signed, was like met with like all the kids. Chris Sale's great with shit like that.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. People act like Chris Sale because he's had blow-ups after games because he's competitive. Like he isn't like a nice guy who like actually tries to, work with
Super
teammates.
Nice.
Or, former teammates, whatever it may be, and fans. Like, I don't know, just the way he talks. We see it with the media, how like vulnerable he can be and open up in those different lights. It's like you can be two different people. Like they're off the field, on the field. Chris Sale just steps on a baseball field and he becomes a maniac.
Yeah. Yeah. And he takes his work very seriously, even after getting paid. Like I said, I got there at 6:30 this morning. Chris Sale, I think, rolled in at like 7 immediately in the gym. Immediately. Gym there, it's like half inside, half outside. So he was just out there fucking working out like a maniac.
Can I be honest?
Still gets after it.
When I saw you up and you posted that picture, which was beautiful, by the way, good photography skills.
Thank you.
I thought you were doing something with Chaim Bloom. And because I was reading that piece he had in the Globe that they detailed him, I thought you were doing a morning jog with Chaim Bloom.
I can't run, but I did see Chaim this morning. So he goes for runs, I guess. Like he just does that. And
he's an athlete.
I was scrubbing the cleats and he came over just to get like a closer look. We have the whole thing on tape. I mean, we got a lot of footage today. I'm hoping that we can use most of it, but the Chaim interaction is definitely going to make the cut. He just came over and was just like eyeing me for scrubbing cleats. And I was like, listen, I come from humble beginnings. Like I got my first job when I was 14 years old. I was working at a warehouse. One of the first things that they told me to do, they were paying me under the table. One of the first things they had me do was go out to the dumpster and cut weeds with a fucking box cutter. It's like I've done shitty manual labor jobs. I've done that.
You cut weeds with a box cutter?
Mm-hmm.
It's a weird instrument to use.
So they gave me. My mom came to pick me up at work. I was just covered in mosquito bites and I smelled like shit because like part of the hazing process, I was the new guy. They threw me in the dumpster. Could have been heroin needles in there. Don't know.
You were bullied.
Don't know. It's hazing. Yep.
Wow.
It's my first job. Yeah.
I'm happy you're not there anymore.
Yep. Yeah, no, I'm not. I don't work there anymore. Yeah, I've moved on. But yeah, that was one of my first jobs. The Section 10 podcast is brought to you by Sock Signatures. Sock Signatures is the leader in autographs and game-used memorabilia of tomorrow's Boston baseball stars. Visit SockSignatures.com today for unique items and the best prices on Sox prospects from Lowell to Boston. Use promo code Section10 to get 10% off your first order at Sock Signatures.
That was nostalgic. You looking at me?
Mm-hmm.
You looking for something?
Say the thing.
I don't remember it.
Yep.
What am I supposed to say? It's been a long time, Jared. It's been a long time.
Jake literally just said it.
Jake, do it again. .com.
.com. Okay.
Make you feel better?
Yeah. Yeah. I put it on a tee for you.
I got caught up in the moment. I felt
Jake
like
did too.
I was a child again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I'm so old.
You are old.
That when we used to do that way back in the day, back in my day, we used to do the Sock Signatures ad read. John Tomasi. Do you have that queued up, Jake?
Ready to
People
go.
were calling me a homer for this, by the way, because I said, what was my tweet? I had a great tweet. All my tweets are great. This one was pretty great too. Was it the last thing I tweeted? No.
People have got annoyed with my vibes.
Yeah, fuck them. After spending a week in Red Sox spring training camp, I can confirm that the vibes are great. And I say that because I was at Fenway, I was in the clubhouse, I was in the dugout, I was around those guys last year. The vibes were not great. Like, you don't just say the vibes are great because you want them to be great. That's not how that works. Like, there are fans that are obviously down on this team right now, and they're like, last place, they fucking suck. Xander's gone. How could the vibes be great? It's like, well, they brought in a lot of new different players, and then they have a lot of young players that don't give a shit about what happened before. They just don't. Like, they weren't really a part of it. So there's a lot of new names and faces, and a lot of guys that are on short deals that are trying to prove themselves. And to Tomasi's point, which we're about to hear, there are a lot of guys with a history of winning. So yeah, like I don't know. The people that want to shit on this team, they're going to just do it. They're not going to have a bunch of logic. They're not going to have any real basis to go on. Like, I can tell you, not to be that guy, because I hated those guys when I first started. They're like, well, you're not in the clubhouse, so what do you know? You can get information via text, no doubt. You can build relationships via text. You don't have to be there for that. But you can't get vibes over text.
No.
A group, at least. You can definitely get vibes from like individuals via text, but you can't get group vibes via text. And the vibes at certain points last year were bad. They just were. We know where that was rooted. It was obviously a lot of like Xander stuff and obviously losing. But this group, you walk in the clubhouse, you walk around camp, you watch these Red Sox YouTube videos.
Dude.
Like, you've got Raffy mic'd up and whoever, I mean, Verdugo, certain guys been mic'd up early in spring.
I listened.
Make your own assessments.
Yeah, I just listened to Kiké Hernandez tell a story about how he shit himself. Him and Justin Turner just talking about Kiké Hernandez just shitting his pants. Like, the Red Sox Twitter page posted that. In what year have the vibes been to the level where they're posting clips on the main page about shitting your pants?
Can't happen. And yeah, they just had this Red Sox content week down here where they filmed stuff like the video boards. It looks fucking awesome. It looks awesome. Like, when guys come up to bat, they're going to have like, it's going to look sick. It's going to be unlike anything that we've seen really at Fenway. It's a different group. It's a different team. You hear the word professional being thrown around a lot. So I'm glad that Tomasi said something, because he's has the reputation of being more on the negative side. But I talked to him today.
Whoa.
He was like, the job is easier when they win. It's like it was me, Tomasi, and Chad Jennings, who I let know the deal. I was like, listen, if we fire Castillo, you're in.
And he was cool.
So he knows.
Okay.
If Castillo's fired, Chad Jennings is in. He understands the assignment now. But it was me, Jennings, and Tomasi. And they were talking about, like, players should be like, do you even give a shit if we're good or not? And the general consensus is the job is easier. It's more enjoyable when you guys win. As journalists, they're journalists. There's no rooting interest. It's like, you root for guys that you like, sure, but you don't give a shit if they, like, you're not like screaming on your couch for home runs, but the job is more enjoyable when they win. So this is John Tomasi on NBC Sports Boston.
Yeah, so Trenny, I have to admit, I kind of like the vibe around this team. I don't know if that's going to translate to wins and losses. I don't anticipate that they're going to lose 100 games. I think they'll probably be closer to 500 where they were last year. But being in there and having covered this team for 25 years now, when you walk into a clubhouse sometimes, whether it's good or bad. 2012, you only had to be in there for a day to realize this is not happening. This year's team, you have all the ex-Dodgers who all those guys have done is win, for the last 6, 7, 8 years. Kenley Jansen, I'll include Kiké on that group. Justin Turner. You have a guy like Adam Duvall who's won a World Series with the Braves. You look around that clubhouse and you see a lot of guys who aren't looking at each other like, how are we going to do it this year? There are guys who have done it, and there's a confidence in there. I don't know if it's going to translate, and maybe you'll be throwing this audio back in my face 2 months from now. But for right now, early impressions, I kind of like what I'm seeing in there.
That's the correct take. The vibes are good. I don't know if they're going to translate. That's fair, because where I left it is the vibes are great. And then you have all these people being like, that's great. March leader in vibes. That's sick. Still going to be a mediocre team. Still going to be a last place team. Whatever the take is after that. Fine. We don't know if it's going to translate, but I think we have seen teams that aren't necessarily the most talented teams that still find a way to get to the postseason because they got a good group. And I think the Red Sox got a good group this year. That's fine. That's how I feel. That's how I saw it. And I've seen teams that are not good groups. Tyler, am old enough to have stood in the 2012 Red Sox clubhouse. That was my first time ever in the Red Sox clubhouse during a season, was in 2012. I stood in that room, and I have often compared it to the discomfort level of being at a wake of like someone that you didn't even really know. Like, it was that uncomfortable. The players were walking around media members like they were furniture. No one was talking to the players weren't talking to each other. The media was just awkwardly standing there. Like, I think the root of any anxiety that I've ever felt in my life started in that room that day, because it was so uncomfortable. So I've stood in clubhouses like that. I know the difference. Seen it, felt it. I've stood in the 2023 Boston Red Sox clubhouse. It ain't felt like that. It felt pretty good.
You go down the checklist, right? And it's like, if you're going to have a team that's going to surprise people, they need to get off to a hot start. How many times have we said that with this team? If they get off to a shitty start in April, March, let's call it, obviously opening day, but that first month goes sideways, yeah, the vibes are going to fall in the trash can. But if you're trying to check those boxes, the first thing is, yeah, this is a group that gets it, that is built on winners, that is kind of all connected there. And there's people who are floating stuff like this is a team full of journeymen and garbage players that, they just strung together here to get through the year. It's like, dude, Kenley Jansen, Justin Turner, Kiké for what he's done in the playoffs over his career. Adam Duvall, 2-time World Series champion. Like Chris Martin coming over from the Dodgers this past year, someone who's been in the big leagues for a very, very long time. There's so much pedigree up and down this roster, no matter which way you want to put it. Acting like it's a bunch of scrubs is just crazy. I'm looking at Chris Sale, and I'm remembering the guy who was screaming in the 2018 dugout, one of the greatest pitchers of his generation. Corey Kluber, who has World Series trophies for days, who, almost not single-handedly, but was carrying Cleveland on their back. Cy Young trophies, carrying them on his back almost to a World Series before the Cubs did what the Cubs did. Those pedigrees are there. There's a reason the professionalism that Cora's talked about has been so real. And Tomasi dropped a column on this today, and I thought it was fascinating. Cora was like, during my 5 years in Boston, there's been times where things aren't okay in the clubhouse and I can't relax when I go home. That I'm home, I'm a wreck. It's all that's on my mind. I'm trying to get everyone there. He goes, the other day, Carlos Correa, who he has a good relationship with, right? Obviously dating back to the Houston days. Correa invited me out for dinner. He's like, in years past, I wouldn't have probably gone, or at certain points, because I felt like I had too much. He's like, this team, the way they've been so professional so far, I go home, I'm not worried about a thing. He's like, I sit down, I watch a little TV, I cook dinner, I have a glass of wine, I go to bed. He's like, I went out with Correa because guess what? I'm with the professional group. I'm not here stressing about how they fit together. I'm not worried about whether we're going to have a dynamic problem or maybe something's going on between Tristan Cassis and, a veteran on the team or whatever it may be. It's like, no, the team, at least for now, obviously it's March 2nd, there's a professionalism that he's continued to talk about over and over again. The fact that Cora is willing to admit that right now should tell you all you need to know. This group knows how to go about it. They're not having contract extension talks going left and right. And listen, the front office generated a large portion of that. Some of that was guys who thought they deserved an extension, JD Martinez, Nate Eovaldi, that didn't get one at the time. But that hasn't been there. Cora has said this himself. So say what you will. Any direction. Right now, this is a group that is just solely focused on 2023. No egos, nothing like that. It's just, we're here. We want to shut people up. We want to prove people wrong. And as Chris Sale said, we want to make some noise.
I'm fired up.
Positivity horn?
It's not that I'm not. It's. I don't have it.
No.
I would definitely. I know. I would let it rip right now.
Okay.
I want to retract that. I'm not fired up. It's almost like a quiet confidence that like a fighter in the UFC would walk out to the octagon to. Like, you wouldn't look at that guy and be like, he is amped the fuck up. Like, look at it. He's going nuts. Like, he's fired up. But it's more just like, oh, okay. Like, he's walking to the octagon with a purpose. Like, that's the guy you don't want to fuck with. That's how I feel about this season. Like, I'm just like, I just want to get in there and see what I got. Like, I'm not overly hyped. I'm not showboating. I'm not talking shit. I'm keeping my mouth shut. And I'm walking to the octagon with a purpose. That's where I'm at with this team right now.
I think people are scared. I think there's certain people that expected spring training to get here and that it was going to be 2012 vibes. That it was going to be, oh, this is bad. You took Xander Bogaerts out, you took JD, and these guys, it's going to be full, some people, Gasper, calling them a quadruple A roster. It's just going to be a bunch of guys that don't know what they're doing. They're confused. It's going to be ugly. Cora is going to be stressed and not know what to do. And they've come together. And now I'm hearing some people who are typically very negative, like John Tomasi, like Tony Maz, who put out a column a couple days ago saying, hey, the Red Sox might actually be decent this year. Like, you're seeing the conversation, the narrative completely flip on its head. And I think that was the negativity from the offseason. And do I understand it? I do. But what we talked about was, yeah, you can recognize the negatives. How many times did we talk about the injury concerns or whatever? Just recognize the other side of the coin. Recognize what can happen if things go right. Because sometimes they do go right, especially after a year where everything went wrong. So, hey, if 75% of those things go right, we're playing competitive baseball in September, and who knows? Anything could happen. You might get in on the last day of the season. You might get eliminated the last day of the season. But if I told you that right now, you'd be like, sign me the hell up for this baseball season.
Yeah. You told me they have a shot to get in on the last day. I'd be like, fuck yeah.
It's a fun year. You would say, all right, that's the most fun you can probably have in a bridge year. Unless you do a 2021 Red Sox run.
Not to put a negative twist on this conversation.
Okay.
Or to get too far ahead of myself either. My one concern that could really put a damper on this season is if the Red Sox say, like, you look at the top teams in the American League, you've got your Houstons, you've got your Clevelands, you've got your Yankees, you've got your Tampas, your Torontos, right? Like, those teams are going to be good. Then you've got your Minnesotas and I guess you could put the Red Sox in that conversation. Like, you've got these other teams where it's like they're going to be fighting for that 6-5 like spot, right? Say you're in the picture. You're not in a spot, but you're flirting with one, and it's trade deadline time. The Red Sox have told you they're not going over the luxury tax. So that either means that it's like, all right, we're just going to run it in the second half and see what we can do. Like, if we can catch someone, great. If not, like, the plan is to stay under the luxury tax. Or it's like, can we get super creative where we can make a trade where we offload salary and somehow get better at the same time? But that's probably just like not realistic at all. That's where my mind goes when we start talking about, I don't know, Red Sox could be good. They could be decent. They could be in it. It's like, all right, well, if they're in it,
it's like you get into
you're going to want to make some moves at the deadline to get better. It's like, all right, if you're going to make a run at this thing, then make a fucking run at it. Okay, well, what if the plan is to stay under the luxury tax no matter what happens?
Yeah, I get where you're coming from, and I think that is a real conversation. Anyone heard that? You froze again. So sorry if I spoke over you for a second. But right now you look at it, Red Sox payroll has them at 225. So they have about $8 million before they get there. Obviously, any salary you take on at that point would be for the final 2 months of the year. So there is a little room to make something happen. And I'd say you kind of have one guy, hopefully, knock on wood, you have one big addition coming. Trevor Story. So you're going to get something of a boost. We're playing the Chris Sale story. We're playing the James Paxton thing over, right? It's just Trevor Story this time. So there is supposedly a major piece coming. If you get to the deadline, I think there's enough
not
to
to
make
take
a
the
move.
negative route, though. What
It's true.
if? What if? Well, I'm saying, what if Kiké is playing great at short? Arroyo's an all-star this year at second base. Now what the fuck do you do? Is that an upgrade?
You get in a spot. It's like, say Duvall's hitting too, right? Like, what do you do there? Someone's going to have to take a lesser role. Do you tell Kiké, hey, it's been great what you did at shortstop for us this year. We appreciate it. Go back to center field. Like, sorry, you got to go play center. We got to figure something out with Duvall.
At Wine
do you
and
tell
Pain night,
Arroyo?
and I can say this. I can say this because it was on the record. I asked Kiké flat out. I was like, do you have a positional preference, or is it really just wherever you need me, that's where I want to be? And he said, I'd be lying if I didn't say shortstop.
That's real, though. That's what he came up as. And
That's
I think
real.
he said it on the broadcast today. He's like, being in the infield and playing shortstop is so much more fun. He's like, the outfield's boring. So, like, I get it. Now, it's funny to hear a guy who's Gold Glove caliber say that about center field. But I also think Kiké is the kind of guy who, if he knows it's what's best for the team, he'd make the move. But it's a weird spot to be in. They're going to have some weird decisions to make. And I think you kind of think of it in the same way you do the rotation. You let it figure itself out. Because the chances of three, I'd call him wild cardish. Kiké is a little bit of a wild card this year, right? Is he 2022 Kiké, or are we going to get 2021 Kiké? Are we going to get Christian Arroyo actually staying healthy? Could Adalberto Mondesi somehow pop and he becomes reminiscent of the player so many people dreamed about? And if Duvall does that, the chances of all those guys hitting is unlikely. But it's possible, right? If that's how it plays, then it's probably a good problem
That's
to
like the
have.
story of the team. It's unlikely, but it's possible.
Yeah. But I'd say at that point,
2023 Boston Red Sox.
yeah, at that point, it's a good problem to have because you probably have an asset. You'll get something back. That's where you're like, Heimblum, get fucking creative. You got a little money to work with here. Can you pull another Schwarber out of your ass? Can you do it again? You have the bullpen this time. Hopefully at that time, we still feel that way.
And you have the top 10 farm system in baseball to deal from.
Yeah.
No, not yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you pick your spots. You pick your spots there. I wouldn't, like Aldo Ramirez at the time, hell of a move by Heimblum.
You're not going to mortgage the future for the 2023 Boston Red Sox. I understand that.
You meet in the middle and can you trade? I'd call it, maybe it's a Chris Murphy or something like that. Yeah, I could see that happening for the right piece if they're really showing their worth to be invested in.
Yeah. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's take it one game at a time. The Red Sox this year, they're not going to pout. They're going to figure it out.
You're right. And if we're being honest, they haven't had a reason to pout. You know why?
Why?
They haven't lost a game.
Haven't lost a game yet.
Not one.
We're like 2 hours into this podcast. We haven't even mentioned the fact that they have not lost a game this spring.
That's where we're at.
Not one. Fuck it. Only team in spring training right now. It's unbeaten. Your Boston Red Sox. The 2023 Boston Red Sox. Why not us? What if? What if? We got to live in the now. We got to live in the now this year.
I'm telling you.
And we're only 4 weeks away from opening day and from going to 2 episodes a week.
I'm nervous, but I'm excited.
What are you nervous about?
I want to feel, first off, it's the second year.
We got nothing to lose.
Agreed. But like I want, and I'm confident in it. I am right now. I want the positive vibes to be there because if things go right with this team, especially that first month. Oh man. The conversations that are going to be
fun.
happening, the people that are going to be so angry that the Red Sox aren't, this bottom barrel team that can't get it done. Oh, please, the tears from Yankees fans. Oh my God. And hey, I'd look around at the AL East right now and I'd say, damn, Tyler Glasnow went down. I know that's hurtful for you. I'm sorry to bring it up like this, but
it's very hurtful.
Huh.
Yeah.
I look at the Rays.
Like my Instagram post.
I look at the Rays, that lineup. It's a pretty big piece of their rotation. And I did see, which was a stat that blew my mind, Tyler Glasnow's never started 15 games in a year. I had to take a step back there and collect myself thinking about that. I know it's both sides. I'm sorry, Jared, but if you're a Red Sox fan and you're looking for optimism, knocks you down a peg.
So
something to think about.
It is. I've been thinking about this team. I've been thinking a lot about this team, actually. It would make me really happy if they finished the month of April with a winning record. You just got to get off on the right foot. That is so huge, to just get off on the right foot. The last thing that you want to do as a baseball team playing a 162 game schedule is have to dig yourself out of a hole in May and June. You don't want that. I don't want that.
We did that last year, and it's like all of that joy just to get to your head like at surface level. And then it all completely collapsed underneath you again. It was just like you had to pull yourself so far, but we knew in 2013 that team got off to a hot start, and it was just boom. 2021, obviously the first series of the year was what it was, but they just rode that wave, ride the momentum. If you can get a couple turns through this rotation without anybody's elbow exploding, without anything weird happening, the conversation on the Boston Red Sox changes very, very quickly. I do have one
Jake,
question.
how do you feel about your 2023 Boston Red Sox? Okay, hold on. Jake, vibe check. Where are we at in the vibe check?
It's kind of like Tyler said. I'm just happy that we're in spring training and everyone isn't just like, this team sucks. Like, at least there's some positivity and there's good vibes down there. So let's just see what happens opening day.
Okay. Tyler, your question?
Yoshida. We saw 5 plate appearances. He's obviously back to Japan now. Did it mean anything to you? Did you see anything and you were like, whoa? Or even just being down at Fort Myers and hearing people talk about him? Do you feel better, different, worse, or just the same as you felt when you went down there?
Better. Yeah. Everyone was sucking his dick. Like, I think I went down there. Everyone was like, you got to see him. You just, I know you've seen videos, you've seen pictures. You got to see him. And I watched him take batting practice Tuesday morning. It was the same morning that I went to watch Kenley Jansen and Chris Martin face live hitters. And they had the pitch clocks out by second base and shortstop. Because I was very curious how Kenley was going to work with the pitch clock, because that was the whole thing. Like, oh, this guy takes forever, yada, yada, yada. I forget who was saying it. Someone was saying it's only going to make him better. It's going to make him more effective to work quicker. Like, okay, well, let's see it. Went down there, watched Kenley, took my phone out, was timing him. Like, he was at 10 seconds every time. Like, he was delivering a pitch 10 seconds. And this was like with the pitch clock. This was facing live hitters. Yeah. So at least from a timing issue, wasn't a big deal. Then I go over and I watched Yoshida take batting practice. I think he was in a group with like Duran and Bob, maybe. So he's one of those guys. I know it's like I don't know what the word is. It's like a baseball cliche almost, where it's like, oh, just sounds different. Offers bat, man. It just sounds different. It does. Like, it just does. He has, I think his arm strength is underrated. Like, he's got some carry on his throws. Whatever game it was, maybe Monday, I want to say, where he had the double on the ball that just got stuck Like he hit it to the wall and it got stuck at the base of the wall. He didn't even get all that. Like he didn't even get all that, and the ball carried to the fucking wall. Double. So yeah, I think that he's legit. I heard nothing but praise for the guys that have been up close. Like I said, I got to see him in the cage. I didn't get to see him face live pitching, but I did get to see him take BP a few times, and he's not a tall guy. I mean, I'm 5'10". Dallas will say that I'm shorter than that. I'm not. I'm 5'10". He's probably like 5'8". Like he's in the 5'8", maybe pushing it. He's a little dude, but he's got meaty ass calves. He's got a thick and juicy. What is it? Hardened. He's got a hard and juicy lower body. He's got a hard and juicy lower body. So I mean, at least from an offensive perspective, he is as advertised, if not better. Like he was, with the naked eye, better than I think the expectations that I had for him. Yes.
That excites me because I'm not going to lie. I've been tweeting the BP videos. I've heard like they're surprised by his power, but to see him rope that double and get to the base of the wall, you just don't see that a lot. Like there's plenty of lefties that have trouble pushing the ball out, and for him to do that in one of his first at bats, that got me excited. I did think it was interesting that the last game he played, he struck out twice. Apparently, he hasn't seen too many sinkers. They don't throw a lot of those in Japan. So it's like a little bit of an adjustment for him. So you see where maybe some of that, when he comes back here, there's going to be an adjustment period. Is that where it's going to be? Cora said he hopes the WBC exposes him to some of that. So I don't know. But I do think it's fascinating at the moment that he looks like he's going to be your cleanup hitter. That is pretty wild from a week ago, where I think all of us had him penciled in as your leadoff guy. That's a lot to put on someone in their first season in the MLB.
I thought it was very funny that it was earlier in the week. Maybe it was like Monday or Tuesday, where Cora was like, "Where did everyone get this idea that Yoshida was going to be our leadoff hitter?" It's like, AC, you said that.
Just trolling. Absolutely trolling.
He I don't know. I like the idea of Verdugo, and his brother was on Twitter saying like, "Oh, you should go to the Red Sox and suggest that." I mean, it's not like they haven't thought about that. Like that would be an intriguing option. Depending on what they end up doing with Yoshida, if he's getting on base at the clip that he usually gets on base, like that's your leadoff guy. Like you're going to have to go left somewhere. And it might as well be with your top two guys. Like assuming it's like Yoshida, Devers, Turner, and like Duvall or something like that.
But
like, who am I missing that's righty?
That's where you get into a little bit of that tough spot, because you don't really have that righty bat that is super, dependable right now. Like you got Adam Duvall, but like in a perfect world where you have Trevor Story,
there's a lot of swing and miss.
Yeah, you can't have. I don't want him fourth or fifth. Like I'm sorry, I mean I don't hate Adam Duvall, but he is what he is. He's going to K a ton, and I do not want to watch him kill rallies. But that's the issue when you start to piece the lineup together like that. It's like, fuck, a lot of guys are going to start to be put in a position where you don't want them to be. It's like, you're not going to ask Tristan Casas.
But that's fine. Like, no, but if you're gonna, if going left is inevitable at some point in your lineup, it might as well be with your two best guys. So like, that's why I'm perfectly fine with going Yoshida, Devers 1-2. And then you go Turner 3. I mean, from there, it's like whatever. You can mix and match from there. But like, if you're going to have to go back to back, inevitably, you do it with your best guys.
But see, I agree. I would agree, like fundamentally, but I don't think the rest of your lineup lets you do that unless you're going to kill the middle. So I think that's where you get into this point of, all right, you have Kiké, who's hit leadoff at times. The last 2 years really been your primary leadoff guy. When he was right, Duran took it over for some time last year. But if you go Kiké 1, you go Devers 2, because Cora wants Devers batting second. And I agree with it. Analytically, that's where he should be. That's where the best hitter in the lineup needs to be. 3 is Turner. He always wants Turner following Devers. 4 is Yoshida, right? Then you kind of get into a little bit of that weird spot with Duvall, right? Is he going to be at 5th for you? Do you have to kind of eat it and say what it is? Then you could go, Cassis or Verdugo, whatever way you kind of want to play that.
What about
right?
what about Cassis leading off? How did you feel about that?
I'm into Tristan Cassis leading off.
I am too.
But will they do that? No, because Alex Cora does not want to put that kind of pressure on him early. I think they're going to want to ease him into things.
I don't know. I don't know that he feels that pressure. I don't know that he's the type of guy where it's like, damn, like leading off, that's a lot of pressure. I think he's more just like, oh, this is an on-base opportunity. That's how he looks at it. Like, that's how he looks at every at-bat. I don't think he looks at every at-bat like, I need to hit the fucking shit out of this ball. I think he looks at every at-bat as, I need to get on base. And that's what your leadoff hitter should be thinking. So I don't know that I really take into account a pressure factor. I think it's an approach factor, and his approach is perfect for hitting leadoff.
And I don't disagree with you. I would be willing to try something like that. I just don't think they will. I think Cora is going to look at Cassis and say, hey, we need to let him adjust. Maybe he can change that conversation as the year goes along, but I think that's where the 2 lefty conversation starts to happen, where, hey, you have Yoshida 4th, right? Batting cleanup.
Your lefty is going to end up being 4-5. Like, your lefty is going to end up being Yoshida cleanup and then Verdugo 5. That's going to be your lefty.
And then you say, hey, Duvall, you hit 6, Cassis 7th, and then you platoon 8 and 9, depending on, well, now it changes a little bit with Connor Wong.
Your catcher spot's 8. Your catcher spot's 8, and then you're going to have like Arroyo hitting 9th.
Yeah. And I would flip it back and forth. Like, if it's a day where it's, potentially McGuire, you can move Arroyo up 1 because he's a better hitter. And then if you have Mondesi playing certain days, you probably want him batting 9th. So you have some speed at the bottom of the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
But there's going to be a redundancy. But if you had Trevor Story, dude, it all, like, you can see it so much. It would change so much for you.
Yeah.
And like, that's what
my dream lineup, my dream lineup right now on opening day: Casas, Devers, Turner, Yoshida, Verdugo, Duvall. What am I at? 7?
Yeah.
Kiké, whoever's catching, Arroyo.
So you're gonna have 2 lefties in that lineup back to back.
You have to, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless, like, where's the second lefty?
You had up top lefty because of Cassis and Devers, and then your other lefty was Yoshida, Verdugo.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Like, the way that I look at it is those Toronto Blue Jays lineups, like 15, 16, they didn't give a fuck about left, right. They was just like, we have 7 dudes that mash and they all hit right-handed, try and get us out, and no one could, at least in the regular season.
I think the Red Sox will say, we're willing to take the L and go lefty, because we know Cora is really into the lefty-righty thing. We're willing to do it one time, and I think it'll start Yoshida, Verdugo 4-5, and I think hopefully by July it's Verdugo Casas 4-5. And then they can kind of work their way down. But Verdugo, if he hits 300 and he's just constantly getting on base, what can you say? Like, if he becomes what he's supposed to be, you get 2020 Verdugo, yeah, you're going to want that guy batting 5th. But I think they're going to try to balance this out that way. It's just, dude, you have Trevor Story, and it all makes so much sense. You could just plug in Story into that 5 hole right after Yoshida. Then it's Verdugo or, Cassis.
I can't even talk about Story, because if it's still on the table that, like, okay. It's fucking Tyler. Welcome back.
I never left.
What I was saying was, I love Trevor Story. Would love if he came back. That's a very good thing that could happen to this team. I can't even talk about it. I can't talk about the what ifs until it's on the table. Because right now, what's on the table is there is a chance he does not play this year. We don't know what the percentages are. We don't know, like, it's not 50-50. Like, we have no idea what percentage he comes back. Is he effective when he comes back? Is he the same guy? We don't know. We just don't know. So I'm going to move forward as if he's not coming back. If he does come back, we worry about that when we get there, because by the time he comes back, who knows who's on this team? Like some guy could fucking get traded, some guy could get hurt. Like, some guy could outperform another guy, then he loses his job for poor performance over a guy that is performing. We have no idea. So I'm not even going to factor in Trevor's story to any of that. But it is a welcomed addition. But as of right now, we're moving on. We have to move on.
Got to get there.
So I'm starting the Tristan Casas leadoff bandwagon.
Yeah,
I
think Tristan Casas could be a leadoff hitter in this league. I think it could make sense. And I think we've seen from the Red Sox last year at the end of the season when the hitting coaches were making the lineup, they let Tristan Casas hit leadoff. He's hit leadoff one time this spring already. I'd be surprised if Cora, I'd be proud of Cora, and I think it'd be ballsy if he did it. I'm just not super confident he will. At least early.
I'm going to ask him right now.
Text him. Just send us the opening day
lineup. Were we doing
lineup.
that last year? Yeah, weren't we doing that last year? We just had questions about the lineup during the show. We would just ask him, and he'd be like, yeah. He sends.
What is he? Hey, he told reporters yesterday, I'm going home and I'm chilling. I got nothing to worry about after the day. It's 9 p.m. AC, what are you doing? You asleep? I refuse to believe Alex Cora is sleeping at 9.
No, he's up fucking thinking about baseball.
That's it. He's doing baseball things. He's having a glass of wine.
Mm-hmm.
Has he answered yet? He just sends the entire lineup card out to you.
Oh, yeah, he's like, God. Here's what we got. If the opening day start is a righty, here's what we got. If it's a lefty, here's what we got.
Please.
He's just that kind of guy.
I don't think anything's cemented, though. I still think a lot's going to have to play out over the next month. How guys have, their spring trainings and everything. But I'm curious. It's going to be some weird lineup construction. You're going to have to see Alex Cora get a little uncomfortable to make this work.
Mm. Yeah. I think he thrives in that situation where it's just not easy. Where, you roll into that first season, 2018, it's like the lineup writes itself. It was a fucking all-star lineup. Now it's like, all right, we've got talent. We need to put the talent in the position to succeed. What combination makes the most sense? It's not as obvious. You could say Verdugo. You could say Casas. You could say Yoshida. This is just for one spot in the lineup. I think the only spot in the lineup that's figured out, 2 different spots. You've got you've locked in Devers at the 2 spot, which means that you've locked in Turner at the 3 spot. That's all you got figured out right now.
And according to AC, you've locked in Yoshida basically in the 4th because they do not want them back to back.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So you're 2 through 4, and I like Alex Verdugo a lot. Everybody who listens knows that. I'd like to see the OBP numbers be a little bit better if he's going to hit leadoff. I think he could do it, but I'd like a little bit better OBP numbers.
Mm.
That's why I think
we'll
Cassis,
see.
you tell me.
We don't know what newly motivated, more athletic looking Alex Verdugo looks like. He might be a 380 on base guy. We don't know that.
It's looked pretty good this spring. Just saying.
Mm-hmm. A lot of guys have looked good this spring.
Not wrong.
John Grant looks good this spring.
Can I say one guy that has stuck out to me? Fuck off. You're not going to guess him. If you guess it, I will say whatever you want me to say. I'll let you write a line and I will repeat it passionately.
One guy that has stood out to you this spring. Is he a pitcher?
That's cheating.
So he's a pitcher.
I didn't say that. He plays baseball.
A pitcher that has stood out to you this spring.
Get off my Twitter.
I'm not on your Twitter.
I don't believe you.
I'm showing you my hands.
Hold on. Let me see.
Righty or lefty?
All right, now we're getting. This is all right. Fine. Righty.
A right-handed pitcher. Is it Chris Martin?
No. You want another guess?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Is he new to the team?
Yes.
He's new to the team. He's a right-handed pitcher. I mean, it's not Kenley Jansen.
Mm-mm. He's pitched in a game.
No. I don't know.
You ready?
Yeah.
John Schreiber Jr., Wyatt Mills. I will tell you, Wyatt Mills is.
I cleaned his fucking cleats today.
Interesting. Okay. But 3 innings so far. He went 2 innings yesterday. Struck out 3 against the Astros. He's walked just 1 over those innings, 0 hits. And watching him in that first game, his shit was moving. Like moving. And watching Ryan Brazier get taken to the moon by Cody Clemens today, which shout out Ryan Brazier.
Don't tell me you're going to overreact to that, by the way.
I'm not
overreacting.
I'm not overreacting, not at all. But I'm just saying
you brought it up.
I'm just speaking to it. Just bring, people, not everyone can watch the spring training.
Someone's going to be a Ryan Brazier guy. Someone has to be a Ryan Brazier guy.
I don't hate Ryan Brazier. I don't hate him.
Yes, you do. Yes,
I don't.
Yes, you do. You said it off the air. You said, I fucking hate this guy.
Whoa. Why would you say that?
Jake, did he say that?
Yeah, he came in talking about his new setup and he was like, fuck Ryan Brazier.
Yeah.
Ryan Brazier wishes he had a setup like this.
Yeah, he does.
No, but I am talking with Ryan Brazier.
Someone's going to be pro Ryan Brazier. It's going to be me.
Stand tall on that hill. I'm
gonna.
Ryan Brazier did have some interesting advanced metrics at the end of last year. He was pitching well in September overall. But I'm saying, if you're looking at that last bullpen spot and you're saying, I think one of the reasons why they looked at Ryan Brazier was, hey, if he doesn't work, we have other options. It's Zach Kelly, it's Wyatt Mills, Caleb Ort, who also don't know why they ever let him pitch more than 1 inning, but they choose to. I think Wyatt Mills could be someone who pushes for that. If he has a really hot spring and Ryan Brazier doesn't look great, could that be a conversation? I don't think it's crazy. I think Wyatt Mills would have to pitch really, really well, but I don't think Brazier's going to have the longest leash in the world this season. They don't owe him a ton of money. Cheap salary for 1 year.
Caleb Ort's cleats today too.
How did that feel?
So I was scrubbing him and I looked at his cleat. And every cleat on the inside of the tongue, the player's number is written in Sharpie on the tongue. That's how everyone knows whose cleat belongs to which player. And I looked at Caleb Ort's cleat, and I didn't know what number he was, obviously. And I looked at one of the other clubbies, and I said, this has to belong to a pitcher. Why did I say that, Tyler?
I don't know. Oh, shit in the, from on the mound, the dirt, and they kind of kick it out so that they can plant.
The toe is scuffed.
Oh, yeah. Good effort.
Mm-hmm. Toe is scuffed.
Interesting. So every pitcher's cleat, the cleat is scuffed?
Not everyone, but if you're on your push off foot, if you're once you rotate your hips and you're here, you're on your toe there on your push.
I can see it.
Yeah,
I can see it.
Mm-hmm.
One of these days, when you ask me something, I'll actually know the answer.
You were close.
Don't pity me. Don't pity me. Not today.
Save it. Spare me.
Spare me is right. Yeah, Jake. And if you're going to interrupt me with a spare me today, you don't even do it right. Okay. I'm sorry. That wasn't.
Do you have anything? Now you're just lashing out at Jake, which is outrageous. He's the nicest person in the world.
I just want for once Jake to take my side over something.
So then be right about something, and he will. Do you see how that works? Every time that
So
I ask Jake, like,
backhanded.
hey, did this happen? What?
So backhanded to say something like that.
If I ask Jake a question, then he gives an answer. Like I wouldn't ask Jake a question knowing that I was wrong about something.
So somehow
Jake, do
every
I ever
time
ask you questions when I'm wrong?
No, never.
That's what
Jake,
I'm saying.
do I ever ask you questions
that
when I'm
works?
right?
Nope.
I can't do this anymore. It's okay. I'm positive. My setup's working. It's been working for how long now? Almost 2 hours straight. That sounds like a good setup to me.
Good job.
I don't think I have anything else, though. Nothing that's at least. Oh, the Kiké JD Martinez thing? Want to touch on that quickly?
If you want. I mean, I didn't really take too much from it.
Interesting. I thought for a lot of people, it kind of continued to push the narrative that there were issues in the clubhouse. I guess I didn't take it that way. I think it was more, it felt to me like Kiké was riding for his guy. And he was just like, yeah, JD's someone who is very, JD's someone who's very focused on his swing and he's very active in hitters meetings, but he's not the rah-rah guy. Like Justin Turner.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Jake died. Justin Turner is the rah-rah guy. And I think he's like, yeah, we kind of need a little bit more of that this year. And that's what they're riding with. But I will say Kiké does not give a fuck what Cora or Bloom says, because anytime he talks, not only does he doesn't walk any of his comments back, he doubles down on them and continues to say, like, good for, how the last group handled things. I want to handle things the way they were handled in LA with the Dodgers. Like he had a comment talking about it was the Duke stuff, but I thought it related to Tristan Cassis, where he was like, what made me really connect when I was in with the Dodgers was they let me be me. They knew I was a little weird, but those guys let me be me. Pretty funny comment to say days after that Tristan Cassis thing came out. So I think for those younger guys, Kiké Hernandez is going to let you be you. What that ends up meaning, who knows?
Yeah.
But I think that's what this team kind of needs right now.
Sure. Yeah, I didn't take it because I mean I know kind of, I guess, like what kind of teammate JD was, and mostly because if there were, I guess, younger guys that were struggling offensively, I would say to them, like, ask JD to like help you. Like he wants to like help guys, and they're like, well, like he's a veteran, and like I'm intimidated, and like people would be like scared to like think that like he wouldn't help them or something. But it's like no, like it's almost like I make the example of like being at the gym, where say you're in the gym and your form sucks. There are guys that will come up to you and be like, hey, like this is how you should do it. And then there are guys that are just like, I'm happy to give you a spot, but like I'm not gonna like see you struggling and like run up and help you. But if you come up to me and you say, hey, can I get a spot? Sure, no problem. Walk over, take the time to do it. Like JD was more of a like, I'm happy to give you a spot if you ask me for it, but like I'm not gonna be like, hey, like I noticed this about like so I guess I kind of see like where Kiké is coming from, but it's not like he was like a disengaged like me teammate. He wasn't. He was more just, he's not gonna he was super focused on himself, but that's just because he's a perfectionist. It wasn't like, I think that there's a difference between being a perfectionist and being selfish. JD is a perfectionist. So he's going out there, he's looking at his swings on his fucking iPad, like I made fun of him all the time for it. But like that's what made him so good, was that he was just so obsessed with being good. But then there are certain teammates where they are more engaged. Like they're gonna sit there during the game and they're gonna watch the game and they're gonna see, like Dustin Pedroia. Like Dustin Pedroia is gonna sit there and he's gonna watch his teammates, and he's gonna like fucking, he's a second baseman, but he goes out there and fixes Eduardo Rodriguez tipping pitches. Like that's just the type of teammate that Dustin Pedroia is. The type of, I guess, teammate that JD Martinez is hey, I've got an open door. If you need help, you ask me, I'd love to help you. But that's if you seek out my help. I'm not the type of guy that's going to be like, force my help upon you. And yeah, like, you know, the point about, I guess like Justin Turner's more engaged. I guess like he's saying he's more of a Pedroia type. Like, I'm going to be paying attention to all these little things. Like JD being a DH, not an outfielder. All right, well, when I'm not like in the game and I'm not up at bat, now I'm going to be in the video room. I'm going to be looking at my swings. I'm going to be in the cage, like trying to stay loose. Like, he's going to be doing things to help him. But he was not someone that would turn down the opportunity to help you if you sought out his help. So that's kind of where I landed on those.
Yeah,
quotes.
it's just apples to oranges. It's two different styles. Like, I don't think anyone's trying to shit on JD Martinez out the door. I think everyone knows how respected he is in this game. It's more just, hey, you know, you look at what Justin Turner is, and Justin Turner is that rah-rah guy. Like you said, he's a Dustin Pedroia. He's going to be on guys a little bit more active. And is it wrong to say maybe that's better when you have younger guys who are trying to, you know, establish themselves and maybe need that? Sure. But like Kiké said, JD was active in hitters meetings and all these different things in different ways. It's just how different guys approach the game. And I think Kiké, like, you got your best friend next to you, you're going to hype your best friend up. Like, that's what it is. I think people looking to kind of spark something out of it or just looking to spark something out of it.
Yeah, I agree. It's just not, it's not what they're trying to make it out to be type deal. Like, not everyone's the same. Like, I know, like, in the gym comparison, which is like all my meathead brain can think to compare it to, is if I see someone in the gym and they're doing something wrong, I'm not going to go up to them and be like, hey, like, let me help you with that. You're not doing this wrong. But if you were to come up to me and you're like, oh, this is someone that I know knows what they're doing, I'm going to ask them for help. I'm going to be like, sure, fucking love to help you. You need a spot? Here I am. Like, you want to know how to do an exercise correctly because you're fucking up your elbows? Here's how you do it correctly. So, yeah, that's the best comparison that I can come up with. Is it's not about one person cares more. It's not about one person's a better teammate than the other. There's just different types of personality traits in a clubhouse, different kinds of teammates. So, yeah. Is there anything else?
I think we did legit every single thing on the agenda. Not bad for a list you were shitting on when we started, just saying.
I wasn't shitting on the list.
You shit all over the list. Don't fucking walk it back.
Jake, did I shit on the list?
Jake, shut
did I shit on the list?
fuck up. Do not do this to me. Please, you know what I've been through today. Don't be, I can't take any more. If you say this, it's over for me. Know what's in your hands.
It was a good list, Tyler.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was a good list. It was a good list. It was a
great list. Great.
Keep up with the good lists. That's 2 episodes in a row that I've used the list. Like, I'll show you. Like, right now, my screen, I've got Riverside right here, and then I have a screenshot of your list to the left. It's like a column right next to Riverside. I've had it up the whole time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next week will be better.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great list. It's just like it was this week. And I've said that. I've always said that about this list.
My lighting actually looks pretty good at this point.
Everything looks great.
Thank you.
Firing on all cylinders in the Milliken studios.
Compound.
Mm-hmm. All right. 4 weeks away from opening day. Any final thoughts?
I hope a week from now, the Jarren Duran hype is even crazier before he goes to the WBC. That's my hope.
Me too. Jake's takes?
Earlier, I was actually thinking I'm kind of running out of stuff to make fun of for Tyler for the Blue Moon ads, but credit to Tyler. He came in and just puked all over himself for the first 30 minutes. So appreciate that. I'm going to tee off on you in the ad now.
Fuck you, Jake.
Oh, God. All right. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to hearing the ad read. It's going to be a good one.
It's hard
the best
to be
part of the
Tyler
show.
Milliken.
Everyone loves that. Everyone loves the Blue Moon ad reads because of Jake. And it those are not possible if you don't puke all over yourself at least, I don't know, once or twice a month.
And the podcast.
All right. We'll see you next week. Back in Boston. And then I guess Arizona the next week. I don't know. Maybe. All right. Go Sox.
Buenas noches, amigos.